Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. They gave leadership to our foreparents, and that leadership made them slaves. But we have decided to find a leadership of our own to make ourselves free men. Our great scholars have inspired through the colleges, the universities, have thrown away the blessed record. Babylon did it. Assyria did it. France under Napoleon did it. Germany under Prince von Bismarck did it. England under America under George Washington did it. Africa with 400 million black people can do it. If you cannot do it, if you are not prepared to do it, then you will die. You race of cowards, you race of imbeciles, you race of good for nothing. If you cannot do what other men have done, what other nations have done, what other races have done, then you have better die.
Welcome to another episode of RBN Live Tuesdays. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick? What's up, JB?
What's poppin', my friends, my family? Man, we have a powerful show for you guys today. And speaking of powerful shows, our boy JB is here as well. You know, every Tuesday doing a great, powerful live stream. What were you guys talking about earlier, JB? I'll check your audio, JB.
Good to see it, everybody. So one of the things that I was talking about, I touched on what happened last week as regards to my family. My grandmother passed last week, so that was something that I wanted to address on the show as to why I wasn't doing too much as far as streaming and speaking to people on social media. I just wanted to take a break there. So I was talking about that, as well as I was connecting the issues of what we see regarding our elderly today and how they're not taken care of the way they should be, especially within our system. I think, Nick, you would say that our part of our central planning model that, you know, in a truly egalitarian system would mean that our elderly and disabled are taken care of and are sustained, especially, you know, through collective action within our communities. Another thing that I was talking about was the Workers Guild of America are actually on strike. They're actually going on strike as we speak because they're sick and tired of basically the big corporations paying them a pittance based on the work that they do entertaining us. And so this is actually going into what's going on with what's going on to go with, you know, how it's going to affect many different industries. CJ, you're near LA. This is going to be affecting, you know, your city in, you know, tragic ways, especially. But at the same time, this strike needs to happen because people are being exploited just for the sake of entertaining us, and that should not be. And so this is something that I was talking about. And so, yeah. And then,
yeah, that's actually my brother, JB. My brother is part of one of the unions. He's part of the Writers Guild Union. Mm-hmm. So he's going to be going on strike on May 1st.
Yeah,
out here. So they're going to be going on strike. Yeah. So
yeah. Good. You're very familiar with it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I was talking about. And this is why, you know, a solidarity between workers needs to happen in order to build up a more worker movement so that we do not allow these corporations, which also run our entertainment industry as well as our news outlets as well. And I know a lot of people were talking about people like Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon, you know, the last day or so. But the thing is that these corporations own the things that we see, the things that we take in through our eyes. And so this, you know, this is something that we had to, you know, talk about. So I talked about that on my show today.
Yeah, make sure you guys check out JB channel. Now for today, it's fitting because we have JB, CJ, we got RBN fam here, and we have one of the most requested guests to join us on RBN. It's an honor.
I would say the most requested guest that we have not had on yet. He is the most requested.
Yeah, easily. He's like Murray Kimberly and AJAMU Baraka, easily, because these are Black radical elders, people who are leading the way of Black radicalism and calling out militarism. So we have the international human rights activist, organizer, political analyst, and national organizer for Black Alliance for Peace. It's an honor. Thank you for joining us, AJAMU.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be with you. I've been following your work, and I guess I was kind of wondering what your listeners are wondering. You know, where's my invitation? So you know, we're here, we're together, and let me just say, brother JB, condolences. I know how difficult that can be. I know how important our grandparents are, and how precious this life is, and so I salute you, salute your work, and I hope you get through this period. So yeah, we're here now, and it's time
Yeah,
for us to chop it up
yeah,
and get a lot of important things happening.
yeah, absolutely. And while I have you here, the breaking news that everyone expected, you had Biden who announced his presidential campaign. You ran, you were the vice presidential nominee for the Green Party in 2016. What will you say? Because there's this giant problem of people on the left, people who are, I would say, advocate of workers, advocates for liberation, that still want to follow the path of the Democratic Party. What's your general reaction to the fact that we have Donald Trump versus Joe Biden again, and the fact that you're gonna have some progressive endorsing? So before we get to some serious topics, I want to get your thoughts on Biden announcing and this sham of a democracy that we live in. If you have any thoughts on that, John Lewis.
Well, it's interesting how you frame that. It's the unserious part of the conversation,
Yeah.
and I think you're right, but it is actually very serious. It really reflects the corrupt nature of this electoral process, this sham democracy, as you frame it, in the United States of America. We have this monopoly of these two parties, and the best choice that they can give us is Tweedledee and Tweedledum, basically. Um,
Yeah.
and because you have two individuals representing just two elements, two competing elements of the bourgeoisie, and there is no space there for a campaign that would articulate the needs and aspirations of working people, of the African working class, the colonized, um, the oppressed. All we have is this so-called choice, which is no choice at all, between these two reactionary candidates. So it's really pathetic that the best that the Democrats can field is this Joe Biden. Um, I would say this, that I know that Kamala Harris is probably saying, "Look, all I want to do is stay on the ticket, because if she stays on the ticket, then we're gonna probably end up having our
Yeah.
first black woman president."
Oh man, that
Right.
would be a disgusting stain on that record. I still hate the fact that Barack Obama is the person who is honored as the first black president. He was an unhinged, absolute maniac. So I call it a sham of a democracy because our choice is essentially warmonger number one, warmonger number two, who has mean tweets. That's our choices for our election. So I voted for you because I voted Green Party in 2016 because I left the two-party duopoly quite some time ago because both parties are pro-war capitalist hellholes where working class
Yeah.
movements go to die. And I want to ask about Black Alliance for Peace as well because I wrote in my first ever op-ed on Substack. It's crazy. It's about 3 years ago to this day where I wrote about the failures of modern Black leadership. Because you speaking about Kamala Harris as the first Black vice president, you have Barack Obama, the first Black president, you have Lloyd Austin, the first Black Secretary of Defense, and the people in the Black community who tend to get power that represent the Democratic Party, they tend to be the biggest sellouts. Now compare that to our radical era of MLK, Malcolm X, and Fred Hampton. And I'm glad to see people like you and Mark Kimberly, our elders, lead the way with Black Alliance for Peace. So for people who are not familiar, can you describe what the goal of Black Alliance for Peace and why your work is so important?
Well, thank you so much for those kind words. We launched Black Alliance of Peace in April of 2017, right after the end of the Obama period and the beginning of the Trump era. And we thought that this was the most propitious time to launch this organization 'cause we thought that this was an opportunity to sort of reclaim the sanity of our folks. 'Cause we know that black folks went absolutely insane during those 8 years of Obama.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you about
Um, there was no rational discourse. In fact, as some of you may know, it was the uh, uh, bar that was one of the first publications that opposed openly the Obama administration. I say oppose, raised critical questions about the Obama administration. And when we were doing that, in fact, with the first couple of years, I wasn't part of that because I was running another organization called the U.S. Human Rights Network, which was the first human rights network explicitly targeting human rights abuses within the United States. Once I left that formation, I quickly joined BAR. And it's important to note for folks who may not know that when you criticize Barack Obama in those days,
yeah.
you were taking a risk. Everybody can do it now, but in those days, people were you could get physically assaulted. Now that never happened to me, but you had to be prepared for that because people were absolutely crazy when it came to this man. But so we launched in 2017. The objective was to try to reclaim what we call the traditional black radical peace tradition, the black radical tradition, um, to revive black internationalism with a politics informed by the principles of anti-imperialism and anti-capitalism. So to help to revive the black radical movement, we call it the Black Alliance for Peace. And because we anybody we understand that peace is what we want. We'd like to have peace and prosperity for everybody, but we also understood too that if you want peace, you have to fight for it. You have to fight against those elements that are responsible for the violence, the state violence, the endemic violence of the system. In order for us to have peace and development, so we thought that the Black Alliance of Peace was also a label that can get us into Reverend Chicken Wings church, so we get access to the people, because that's what it's all about. It's about organizing the masses of our people, and so this is what we are attempting to do. We started off with about 6 of us when we launched. Today we have BAP citywide alliances in most of the major cities. We have something like 700 individual members, 58 national organizations. We have
Nice.
over 500 members of the U.S. Out of Africa network. We have various communication instruments that we are part of and support, including Black Power Media, Voices with Vision, Lukeman Nation, Hood Communists. These are all connected to this formation with individual members. So we're trying to build a structure that will allow us to build power with our people, a black radical structure, and that's what we've been doing for the last now 6 years as of April 4th.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I've been a big supporter of Black Alliance for Peace. I love the statements that you guys put out during very critical events. You guys recently condemned the Biden State Department for going after Black socialists, and we're going to discuss that here very soon. But to go back to your comments regarding, I love how you said the Black community lost their damn minds because during the Obama administration, because that's probably the best way to put it. There was like this mass formation psychosis on a scale that people don't even realize back then. Like I remember people that didn't follow politics. Like when I first came out, I was like, "Fuck Obama," and I remember when I didn't like Obama for quite some time before I came out. It's like almost like LGBTQ issue. Like,
right,
I came
you
out
came out.
as being anti-Obama. I hated that motherfucker for a while. Now I finally start saying stuff publicly because I knew the backlash. And I had people who was far from liberal. Trust me, guys, far from establishment liberals. That they heard my position on Obama. They was like, "What? What are you talking about? What?" And I was lucky. I tell you guys all the time, I'm lucky because I have more of an apolitical family and community structure around me. So it was more like they couldn't believe it. Like, what? I can't believe what? But there's other people who they would straight cut you off. Like they hear you talking shit about Obama. I remember the Michael Eric Dyson, Dr. Cornel West debates were very public and black entertainment for Obama. It was such a crazy time. So it's good to have people like Black Alliance of Peace. I talked to Margaret Kimberly about this as well. She was leaning away, calling it out. It was a very hard time to do so, and you guys took your neck out when it was extremely dangerous.
And Nick, let me interject here because I actually had Margaret Kimberly on my show. She was one of my first guests, and this was the topic. It was Obama in the Obama years, and what we discussed. I'm curious to hear what all of your opinions is. We discussed that this sort of psychosis, how you describe it, is like it was all of the fantasy we had been sold about. Sort of the Huxtables, manifested into who the Obamas are. So it was like a manifestation of hope that we finally saw, that we were sold this package, this dream, this American dream. And we're looking at it not like sort of with blinders on, like not seeing the bombings, not seeing, what's happening in Libya, just the Huxtables have finally made it. But what are your thoughts on sort of that outlook on why we had this sort of psychosis, AJAMU?
It was definitely a cultural and an ideological phenomenon. I would argue that it was the culmination of what Pascal Roberts refers to as the 50-year counter-revolution. People have to understand that, and we're all part of the Black liberation movement, that beyond the low intensity warfare that was directed at us, there was also an ideological component, a cultural component that really was intensified in the 1970s as part of the counterinsurgency strategy of the state. And what was the objective? The objective was to ensure that there would not be the reproduction of another generation that took to the streets, that organized, that engaged the enemy and actual military confrontations, that disrupted the system, that brought us to the edge of a revolutionary era. And how do you do that? You attempt to transform the consciousness of the oppressed. The objective was what I call the Americanization of the Negro, if you will, to turn us from Africans into quote unquote Americans.
Yes.
And that ideological component was part and has been part of their campaign of containment, and they have been fairly successful in that. I mean, look, how is to explain the commitment that they had? I don't want to get into this too many details in terms of the integration process and the busing and all of that. And who were they busing? They're busing our young people. That basically this was part of the strategy to transform our consciousness. And the culmination of that process, if you will, was with the Obama candidacy and him coming to I say power, but him coming into office in 2009. That this was the culmination of that process, and people were. So what we saw was the reflection of the conservative politics that had become ascendant in our community, and there was no disconnection between ourselves and the American state. That's why people would stand up and be just as patriotic as anybody else at the basketball games and football games, and refer to the system and to the state as we and us. And today you see that, black folks are just as mad at the Russians and the Chinese and the Iranians as other folks. And I tell people, when you take your black ass in your car, and when you look in the rearview mirror and see those blue lights, I bet you $1 to a donut that when those pigs get out that car, they ain't gonna be Chinese, Russian, Iranians, Venezuelans. They're gonna be good old Americans, quote unquote Americans, and probably even black Americans, ready to take your life at a traffic stop. So look, the enemy is clear. They understand their interests. Our problem, our challenge, is trying to recoup that spirit of rebellion and resistance, that vision that we don't have to be captives. We have the ability to be self-determined. That's part of the mission that we have in the Black Alliance for Peace.
We could literally do an hour live stream on this alone. This is a topic that I've been deeply interested in. I wrote about it in my first article, and I wish I could articulate it as beautifully as you did. The Americanization of the Negro.
Yeah, I love that.
Witnessed this, and this is a theory that I've been bouncing around in my head. Like in hindsight, like once I became more class conscious, the coordinated effort to turn Black Americans to obedient consumers. There's people that care about consumerism, materialism. They try their best to rip the community apart. That's why like I said, this could be an individual live stream because we can put out like there's a coordinated effort to separate the community, to separate radicalism from our culture, and then there's this worship of celebrities who are also Black capitalist sellouts, and then those same Black capitalist sellouts like LeBron James will go out and promote war criminals like Barack Obama and manufacture consent for the worst people in our community. They will be representatives of banks who charge the Black community higher interest rates. Like, I'm gonna cut the conversation off here because we could do 1 hour on this topic alone, because it's such a great point. And so many people still have their mind colonized. That's why I say people to decolonize their mind, because ever since the end of the civil rights movement, there's been a nonstop coordinated effort to colonize the minds of Black Americans, including the Black Americans that we see in Congress. And I mentioned earlier that Black Alliance Peace, you guys had a great statement on Ukraine. I read great statement on Taiwan. You guys always make these great statements, so it's 100% clear where you guys stand on issues. And you guys recently had a statement condemning the Biden administration, the FBI, for going after O'Malley and the Uhuru Black Socialist Movement. Guess who did not have a statement? Guess who didn't feel it worth their time to speak about it? Black members of Congress who are considered progressives, like Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, Ilhan Omar, Nina Turner, not worth their time. Tweet about it. They tweet about January 6th all day. Not worth their time to defend Black radicals, but Black Alliance for Peace did. So I want to pass it to you, John. I want to get your thoughts on this insane story that even woke up some right wingers. I saw Glenn Beck, Carlson was speaking on this because it's such a insane blatant violation of the First Amendment rights of these Black Americans, like Black Alliance for Peace, like RBN, who've been calling out the Ukraine war. So what is your take on that story? And CJ, I'll pass it to you for the next question. But John, what's your thoughts on that part?
One of the most dangerous developments in decades. I mean, even at the height of the counterintelligence program, there was always allusions to us being connected to the Soviet Union or to China or whatever. But this time, they actually have used the legal apparatus of this to charge an organization that's been around for more than 50 years, the African People's Socialist Party, as a unregistered foreign agent. And that's been the first time that this has happened at this level since 1951. Who was the last one that was charged in 1951?
Crazy.
W. Boyce. Okay. And because he was, and what was he running? He was part of running a thing called the Peace Information Center. Right? So you see, peace for them is a threat. And so they charged Du Bois in 51. They took away his passport in 52, him and Paul Robeson. They concentrated on Black left radicals during the McCarthy era. And today we have the same phenomenon. Black congressional representatives, they're not speaking out because they have become part of this system. You know, people used to talk about the Congressional Black Caucus as being the conscience of the Congress. Well, to a certain extent, maybe they were back in the 1970s when they first formed. And you have some progressive elements. Charlie Rango at that time, Charles Diggs. You had a number of Shirley Chisholm, even the old sister out of California. I'm having a senior moment.
She's the one in LA. You talking about the LA mayor, Bass?
Well,
yeah.
She Karen Bass. She came a little later, but she'll come back to me in a second. But now they have shifted to the right. They shifted to the right because of the shift to the right of the Democrat Party. When the Democratic Party decided to embrace the finance capital, international capital based in the U.S., they completely abandoned the working class, abandoned any pretext to progressivism. That money corrupted the Democratic Party, and that these folks who've been around for now decades, they're part of the leadership structure now of the Democrat Party. So they're not taking any kind of radical positions. Now, you would think, though, and you call some of the names of some of the younger ones, that the Cori Bushes and Jamal Bowman would understand that this attack on the African People's Socialist Party isn't just an attack on that particular formation. It's an attack on the entire left, including the liberal left. It is a dangerous rationalization of censorship, government or state censorship, because the essence of the charges is that this is a formation that is charged with sowing discord. What does that mean?
You do that every day.
Exactly. I wake up every morning to sit trying to sow some discord, trying to find out how I can do that. So if they can be charged with that, if they can connect that discord that we're trying to sow, trying to develop radical consciousness to a foreign entity, then all of us are threatened. And so people have to understand this is an attempt at ideological intimidation. It's an attempt to continue the momentum that the Democrats started in justifying, rationalizing, constraining the range of acceptable information and speech. Just the other day, you had AOC making an argument as to that given the state has a responsibility basically to protect us. Big brotherism. Okay.
Yes.
So Orwell had nothing. I mean, he looks like, tender kindergarten stuff nowadays. These folks have embraced this. That's why I've argued that it is the Democrats that are the true cutting edge of U.S. neo-fascism.
Yes.
These are totalitarians. Okay. So they got us shifted over here looking at Trump and the clownism of Trump, where you have the neoliberals who control the neoliberal state. These are the ones who are the cutting edge of totalitarianism. And there's no opposition because most of these liberal left formations are aligned with the program and perspective of the Democrat Party.
I'm going to read this comment.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I saw this comment just because I thought it was good. This from She's Black. Always leave good comments. And people don't realize how evil Biden is. We don't call him Jim Crow Joe for nothing. Absolutely. But anyway, CJ, go ahead. I know you want to chime in.
No, I was going to pass it to JB, but I threw up the tweet that AJAMU, you were just kind of speaking to for everybody's reference. I can read it and then pass it to you, JB. So this is what you tweeted out. AOC and liberals are now openly calling for the government to determine what is acceptable content for media dissemination. I have consistently said that while they got used just focused on the Trumpian right, neoliberal Democrats continue to be leading the edge of fascism in the U.S. I think that's what it's supposed to say. Go ahead.
Leading edge, yo.
Go ahead, JB.
All right. Okay. So it is definitely an honor and a pleasure to meet you, Mr. AJAMU. And it's nice to have you. One of my questions that I wanted to ask, and it's kind of, flowing the same stream as the last question, but we have quite a few white viewers that also tune into our channel. What do you say to people who may disagree with our focus on the intersection of race and class on the left, who tell us to focus only on class while we leave race in the rearview mirror?
I would say that that's not a serious position, that cannot be the foundation for building a radical movement in this country. that race has been at the center of the settler colonial project. See, part of what we have as a left in this country is that we cannot develop an effective left opposition because we still have to contest a misunderstanding of the nature of this system and the history of this country. That we argue that what we are up against broadly is the pan-European colonial capitalist white supremacist project that started in 1492 when Europeans spilled out of Europe and came into the Americas and began the process of conquest and supplemented the theft of indigenous land with the theft of human beings from Africa that created the material foundation for what became, as Fanon said, Western Europe. We basically built Western Europe. And when we say Western Europe, we include in that the settler states of the United States, Canada, New Zealand, and all the rest of the settler projects. So, at the center of that justification was white supremacist ideology. And so, it was the dehumanization of indigenous people, of African people was front and center. Brother Charles Mills, the famous black philosopher, talked about the fact that at the center of liberal philosophy is this notion of the social contract, this idea that all of us have certain kinds of objective rights stemming from nature, and that a legitimate government is one in which our rights are in fact protected. And so we give up our objective portions of our rights to this sovereign that is responsible for protecting all of our rights. Well, instead of a social contract between the government and us, what Charles Mills argues, and I agree, is what we have instead is a racial contract. That is a contract that says that the only group that has rights that have to be or should be respected and recognized are white folks, cross class. Okay. And when it comes to non-Europeans, we have no rights, including rights that were reflected in the U.S. Constitution that were there to be respected. So, Justice Taney in 1857 was actually correct when he said that black folks have no rights that white folks have to recognize and respect. So we say to our white friends that if you don't understand the connection between race and class, you have to understand that basically, the capitalist system as it operates based on this racial component. That when we talk about racial capitalism, we're talking about, in fact, as Omala Yeshitela talks about, a colonial mode of production that continues. Okay, the super exploitation of black folks and other people of color still continues. When we had to try to build worker-led movements based on the working class, we had to deal with the contradictions of white workers who had privileged positions often, who fought to maintain those positions against us. We can't just dismiss that as a reality. And so if we want to build an effective class-based movement, we have to deal with these lingering issues of white supremacy. This identification with the Anglo-Saxon West, if you will, the fact that these ideals articulated by white supremacists like Zelensky, who talks about the collective left, the collective of Europe, and talks about Europeanness, okay, and people who instinctively believe that the apex of human development is reflected by European societies. If you believe in those kinds of notions, you are objectively a white supremacist. That's why we say that white supremacy cannot be reduced to race. Barack Obama was a white supremacist and is a white supremacist.
Right.
Complexities of race. It's a tough conversation, but we got to deal with it. Okay, and so when our friends tell us don't be concerned with this imposition that we have to deal with now, or this racial category, that is not important for us to be not only black workers but African people too. and that we have a connection to other African workers, that we are concerned with anti-colonialism and anti-imperialism, and that we are concerned with other colonized peoples, then we have to help our friends understand that we're not going to abandon that perspective. And basically, if you don't understand where we're coming from, then we're never going to be successful in this country building a radical movement.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Great question, and even more fantastic answer. CJ, I'll pass it to you guys if you have any other questions.
Yeah, I did want to piggyback off that, because this is something that is like having we started out as Fred Hampton leftists, and now we're Revolutionary Blackout Network. I think this has been one of the most prevalent things that is brought up in some of our comments when we are talking about race, like issues of race and ethnicity, is that, like, why are we talking about this as just class? And this is something that we find is probably one of the most challenging things when in communication with our white allies. This is probably one of the most, if not the most, brought up matter that we still just not have been able to articulate. But I do think how you just explained it does help do that. Now, what I want to ask is strategically, how do we as Black people move forward with white allies who have this belief? Like how do you see that sort of teaming up, manifesting? What does it look like to you?
Well, we make the argument that while we struggle with our white comrades, we believe that it's important for African people, the African working class, to be independently organized. See, part of the strategic confusion among with some of our friends is that the only kind of formation that they will respect is a multiracial, multinational formation. We have no problem with those for individuals who want to be part of that. And we will work with folks as long as we're moving in the same common direction. But we also assert our right to have our own independent organizations. Why? Because in the confusion around this issue of race, we have to be in a position to define and to assert and protect our objective interests. And so we believe and put at the center of our approach to politics the principle of self-determination. Okay, and so while we debate and struggle with our friends, we are not going to surrender our power. We also make the assertion that if you look at the history of radicalism in the U.S., the times where there's been the most significant advancement of radicalism in the U.S. is when you've had African people at the forefront of that. Okay, and that is still, I think, the case or the situation we're facing today. That basically, until you have some of the most, until you have the organization and the leadership coming from, we say, the colonized peoples of this country, we're not going to make real advances. I think that unfortunately, some elements of the white working class movement have been so corrupted that it's very difficult for them to organize themselves. In fact, one of the issues we have is that, and we've been having this argument or this conversation for decades. We say if we see so much backwardness coming from the white community and so much from the white working class friends, as white workers, as white activists, as white radicals, why aren't you not doing more in organizing the white working class? Now, you could be all up in our communities helping to organize us, supposedly, but where is the work taking place among your folks? Now, one reason why they don't do that, I'm gonna tell you, because they quite objectively, I think most of them are scared of them because they so fucking dangerous. But we have white workers who, in fact, are trying to organize white workers. Okay, we need more of them. We don't need folks in our communities helping to organize us. We can organize ourselves. We don't need you all undermining our ideological orientations. you know, and based on your fantasies about how revolution should unfold. Okay, what we need for you to do is to help build a movement by organizing where you should have some expertise. Okay, so it's a constant struggle we have to engage in, because this deep this confusion around these notions of race, and where and the role of our white working class friends and allies.
And I think, let me say one more thing here, because what rings to me when you were speaking is, what is it, the young patriots, young lords, and the Black Panthers. And because I just recently did an I Am the Revolution episode on it, and it was never, were in the footage that I found of the actual meeting. I actually found a meeting where Bobby Lee was in, and it was like a couple of hours long. It was never like, hey, everybody's together. It was like, you go organize your community, I organize my community, and then we come together with common goals that we execute. So I think it's kind of been, I don't know if the right word is co-opted, because it kind of implies malice, but it has been changed. That understanding of coalition has kind of morphed into something other, because we have to understand each individual community does have different goals. We have different things that we have to fight for. There's different ways that we're being oppressed, makes it better to sort of organize your community, then come together. You get what I'm saying? So anybody can speak to that. That's just what I wanted. That's what I was feeling, what I got from what you said, AJAMU. So anybody who wanted to jump in can.
Let me jump in real quick. Just piggyback real quickly off of that. The strategies are going to be different. Some of the underlying structures, of course, are the same. We're all being oppressed by capitalism. Okay, we bring in the colonial capitalist connection, but in essence, it is the capitalist system that we have to do away with. So that becomes the basis of a potential unity. But how we get there, in terms of the strategies of how we organize in our communities, how we organize the various sectors of the working class, that's where we have conversations. The issue we have, though, is when some people will attempt to impose on us their strategies of organizing, as though they know better than we do our objective conditions. You know, we understand the consciousness of Black workers. We understand the conditions in our communities. Therefore, we are the ones most, in position to know how to organize our people. Okay, you should have the same kinds of understandings in your communities, and that doesn't mean we have these separate silo kinds of struggles. You know, it just means that we have to have strategies that correspond to the objective conditions in this context of the territory we call the United States of America.
I think the way that you put this, Jamu, is beautiful, and I think a lot of well-meaning white allies will learn a lot from that answer. Now, one last question before we get you out of here. We appreciate your time. This has been a brilliant conversation. I have to ask you about what me and CJ describe as probably one of the biggest geopolitical happenings of my lifetime since the fall of the Soviet Union, and that is the Biden administration's unhinged war that they were trying to plan against China and Russia. You had Nancy Pelosi visit Taiwan, even though China warned that Taiwan is their that's the red flag. That's the thing
Red
that
line,
escalates the war. Red line, yeah. And you had Kevin McCarthy that just visited Taiwan as well. You even had all the progressives in Congress that agreed to send weapons to Taiwan. That's tied with all the progressives also unanimously supporting the war in Ukraine, which there's no end game for the West other than endless war with Russia and possible World War III. You had a doomsday clock right now that is closest to midnight. We are closest to nuclear war than ever before because of the actions of the West. So I want to get your take on the Biden administration's push for war with Russia, China, and what the left is getting wrong about Ukraine and Taiwan, in your opinion, Ajamu. Very broad question to end this off today, but I'm very interested in your thoughts about the geopolitical situations we're in.
No, it's a very important conversation. We have to talk about all the time because, as you said, um, we are very close to a complete catastrophe for humanity, and that's why I make the argument that right now the U.S. Represents an existential threat to collective humanity. These amateurs that are making U.S. policies are such that they have painted themselves into a strategic corner. They hyped up the rhetoric. They defined victory in Ukraine as a military defeat of the Russian Federation. When everybody who had just a cursory understanding of the balance of forces between Ukraine, even with Western support, and Russia, knew that this was not going to probably happen, and that it was going to end up with the complete destruction of the Ukrainian state. And that's exactly what has happened. But instead of them trying to find an off ramp to de escalate, they instead did the opposite. When there was a possibility after a month of fighting for some kind of negotiated settlement that would have still recognized the possibility of the Ukrainians recouping some of the territory that they had lost. They told Boris Johnson to fly over to Turkey and tell Zelensky basically, if you negotiate seriously with the Russians, we won't be able to protect you, meaning you will be taken out by your own people, in essence. Okay. And so they took a hard line. They told them, look, take a hard line. We guarantee you support, et cetera, et cetera. And the result is that hundreds of thousands of people have lost their lives unnecessarily. And now where are they at? Well, now the reality of the military defeat is something they can no longer avoid. And now there was an article that came out in Politico the other day where now they're conditioning the U.S. population to be ready to accept that there's going to be a negotiation and that they're going to abandon in a fashion very similar to how they abandoned the people in Afghanistan. That they're going to abandon the Ukrainians, and so if that happens, then we can avoid a global catastrophe. But you also have the hawks who are taking the position that they're going to continue no matter what. That what they might accept would be a temporary truce while they then rearm Ukraine. And now you have the NATO Secretary General making a comment a few days ago that with some support that Ukraine should be brought into NATO immediately, which means then that any confrontation between the Russian Federation and Ukraine gets redefined under Article 5 as a confrontation between Russia and NATO, with all of that could imply in terms of escalation. The same kind of madness is happening with their policies on China. That this notion of escalating tensions with China over Taiwan, violating what was policy for 30 years in terms of their one China policy, it's almost like it's suicidal. That even from the point of view of the bourgeoisie, it's counterproductive. Just like how they have now undermined the international confidence in the dollar. And it's almost like they're surprised now that people are trying to move toward complete dependency on the dollar as the currency of international exchange. You did it yourself. You stole people's money. You use the dollar dependency as a weapon, imposing economic sanctions. And people are saying, in order for us to have any kind of economic sovereignty, we've got to disconnect from the dollar. So this warmongering is part of the desperation on the part of elements in the U.S., the bourgeois, the capitalist class, desperately trying to maintain their global hegemony, and they don't have a clue as to how to do it. And so they fall back on the only thing that they think they have an understanding of, which is militarism. And here it is, they are depending on militarism and the possibility of engaging in a two-theater conflict with the Russians and the Chinese. and they couldn't even do it in the early 2000s when they lost in Afghanistan and in Iraq.
Yes.
And now they're going to take on two powers that can challenge. I mean, this is insanity. It's
Insane.
absolute insanity. So we've got to put a break on these maniacs, or we are all in trouble.
Once again, I love the way you put it. And this is why we put our boot on the necks of the NATO left. People were like, why are you going after Marianne Wilson or over her take on Ukraine? Small disagreement. Why are you guys upset over Bernie and AOC over this on the Ukraine?
Or Bill Fletcher and Howie Hawkins.
Yes.
Yeah, Howie Hawkins.
And their Ukrainian Solidarity Network.
Jesus fucking. So and we there was a big split. I know you probably felt this during Russiagate as well, where I call them progressive shit libs because they are liberals. They got progressive minds on America for all and other stuff, but they fall for every single State Department war talking point. And there was this split where they're like, "Why are you guys making a big deal over Russiagate?" Because we knew where Russiagate would lead to. We knew that Russiagate would lead to this. And you guys know the same people on the progressive shit lib left that pushed Russiagate, they're the same people who got Ukraine wrong. You guys think that's a coincidence? That's not a coincidence. So we need to stop pretending that these are small disagreements. Yes, we agree on Medicare for all. Yes, we agree on increased minimum wage, lower housing standards. But those agreements are small compared to the disagreements on these geopolitical events. You guys heard how AJAMU described it. What is going on right now is crazy what the United States is doing. And if you aren't on board with that, regarding sending weapons to Taiwan, like all the progressives done, sending weapons to Nazis in Ukraine, like all of them has done, that is not a small disagreement. That is something that's going to destroy your legacy more than you guys think it will, and that's something that should separate the left because we should not tolerate that. But anyway, I love the way go ahead, JBCJ.
Yeah, I go ahead, JB, and then I'll chime in here.
No, I just wanted to make one point, and to what you said, Nick, is the fact that if they are, game for sending weapons to Nazis in Ukraine, that means you're game for sending weapons to people who want to end our lives. And that is why it's so important, because why in the world would you send weapons to Nazis thousands of miles away? That's no different than sending Nazis to the neighborhood next door.
And those guns going to flood the black markets. And not only just us, they're endangering the black global working class, because now there's reports from the DHS. Sorry to cut y'all, Jay, because you're making a great point, where these guns are going to be flooded in the black markets. You're going to have neo-Nazis that have networks in Ukraine, because you got neo-Nazis in Brazil, you got neo-Nazis all over Europe that travel in Ukraine. They all going to have access to these black market guns that they're going to bring back home. It's so dangerous what they're playing with. But sorry, JB, I want you to continue.
Can I jump in real quick on that point?
Okay, go ahead.
And that's why we say to the young brothers in Tennessee, please understand what is happening here. Understand that if you take a principled position on the issue of guns and gun violence, you got to connect that to the gun violence in the form of warmongering. Okay, that is the logical, political, and moral connection. If you don't do that, then basically you are allowing yourself to be used as an instrument against your own folks. Okay, we all want to see an elimination of violence, but the issue of violence in U.S. culture goes even deeper than the accessibility of weapons. Okay, so we've got to understand that when you talk about that point that JB made in terms of them sending guns and resources abroad to Nazis, we connect that to the militarization of the domestic army that we call the police. And their job, basically, many of them are Nazis and white supremacists, is to control and to contain us and other colonized people. These connections have to be made. That's part of the responsibility of developing this international perspective. And we call on the brothers in Tennessee, be careful, because they will corrupt and control you and use you like they did Barack Obama as a weapon against your own folks.
Such a powerful way to play. Go ahead, CJ, if you want to chime in.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up the Black Alliance for Peace website again, and ask if you would speak on, I'm kind of changing topics, but kind of staying on the same topic still, but AFRICOM Watch Bulletin. Could you talk about what that is on the website? And I have the most recent one up here on the screen.
Yeah. That's the connection we are making here. That basically one aspect of our campaign is to bring attention to the existence of the U.S. Africa Command. The U.S. in their colonial arrogance they have divided up the entire planet into various command structures. And so we are putting a focus on AFRICOM, which is a U.S. command structure, where the U.S. has forces in Africa, theoretically to assist in anti-terrorism and all this kind of nonsense, but basically is there as an instrument of U.S. foreign policy. Every place we have seen AFRICOM, we have seen, and not a de-escalation, but an escalation in violence. So again, we say, if you want to be concerned about, you should be concerned about increased violence and militarization of the domestic army we call the police in the U.S., you can't understand that unless you understand the point that the JB made, that this is happening globally, and you have to understand what's happening on the African continent. You have to understand what's happening in the Americas through Southcom. You have to understand that in their national security strategy, they put at the center of this their commitment to what they call full spectrum dominance. And the strategy that they're using to maintain their global hegemony is militarism. These folks are fighting for their interests. They're waging war to maintain their dominance. We have to understand, as working class people, as African people, that they are waging war against us also, and that we cannot tolerate and can't afford this to continue to be a one-sided war.
That's how I view it. That's why I'm so passionate. When I see them bomb other country, I view them they're going to war with us. They're going to war with humanity. Now, John, I appreciate your time. I have 2 super chats I saw here that are good questions, so I'm gonna just do 2 quick rapid fire questions for you, and then we can get you out of here. Thank you for the $10, James. This is a good question. Does Mr. Baraka have a solution for resolving the tendency towards militarism within the Green Party? This is a great question. You can take this on, John. Well, I interviewed Howie Hawkins.
Oh, it was terrible. It went pretty bad. It went bad. It went terrible.
And I vote for Howie Hawkins. I would never regret voting against the 2-party duopoly, but man, Howie has been extremely disappointing. So with that said, AJAMU, you want to take this question on? We got one more, and I get you out of here. I appreciate it.
No problem. No, Howie has been a real disappointment. I in fact endorsed Howie in 2016, 2020. That is. Yeah. That basically. The tendency of, I wouldn't even say it's a tendency within the Green Party. I think Howie still represents to the Green Party's I think to what the Green Party really is, a minority tendency. That there's pushback, and so the way we deal with this within the Green Party is we've got to deal with it directly, and it's been happening. There's been a couple of debates on this issue of Ukraine. And I think Howie represents a minority tendency. I think, and I've said it quite openly, that Howie Hawkins should not be a member of the Green Party. Yes. He has violated the Green Party principles and values, and why he's still there is a mystery to me. So the Green Party itself has to be quite front and center and clear in articulating its position on violence and militarism, and to restate its commitment to nonviolent social change.
We had Joe Stein on, and a lot of people think like Joe Stein. Obviously, we have AJAMU on. I cannot emphasize enough. I hope Green Party people listen. I have a few people reached out to me and said they have received this criticism and they working on it. But you guys have to immediately renounce Howie Hawkins. Howie Hawkins has done unbelievable amount of damage to the Green Party. You guys, like, if Howie Hawkins didn't do what he has done, the Green Party will have way more members than right now. There were people waiting after Trump, Biden for a third party, then the Green Party turned to clowns with Howie and turned people who otherwise would signed up. I cannot emphasize enough how much Howie has hurt the Green Party. So I love what you said, AJAMU. And I think the Green Party need to be like, no, fuck civility politics, Fuck trying to avoid her and her feelings. There need to be a hard divorce from the direction that you guys took with Howie, because it really did hurt the party. Go ahead, CJ.
Remember when Jill was on, Dr. Jill Stein was on, we were actually had a conversation with her, and maybe we clipped it too, where we were like, maybe the Green Party could be a vehicle for black, not black liberation. How do we phrase it? But like it could be a black party. It could be a party like for black people. What are your thoughts on sort of another party challenging the Green Party? Like, what is your thoughts on post-duopoly sort of politics, just generally? And then Nick, you can bring up that other super chat.
Yeah, just one more.
No, I think we have to have independent black political parties that are radical. If there was space for us to take over the Green Party, that's something that could be looked at, but I think that'd be a very difficult proposition. Part of the reason why I ran in 2016 was I believe that there was some possibilities that we in fact could work with and through the Green Party, especially on the local level. But there's a lot of struggles we still have to engage in with that party, and with some elements that did not open up the spaces very broadly to allow for new elements to come into the Green Party, and as a consequence, some of the young people that we actually helped to motivate in 2016, instead of them coming into the Green Party, they went into DSA, and so so the same thing is potentially happening here with this Howie Hawkins and the element around him. So the Green Party has to save itself. So, but we can't wait on the Green Party, anybody else. We have to continue to build organization, to build our independent basis, so that we can clearly articulate the interests of the African working class in this revolutionary process.
This is another great super chat from Andre, and the last one we send you off. I appreciate your time, AJAMU. What's the relationship between Black Alliance for Peace and RBN? How can we organize? This is the point part. How can we organize and get involved? So, AJAMU, you want to take that on? I've been following the work. Have a lot of great respect for Black Alliance for Peace. Definitely consider them very strong allies in this fight. So, AJAMU, you want to take this on?
I think that what we do is for you all to continue what you are doing in terms of bringing this kind of information to the public. I think that we can find ways to strengthen that relationship. We are building this formation out. There's a possibility of folks joining as individuals or as a formation, and we could work together. And so, how we do this is really up to us, but I think we have a political alignment, and so we can continue formally or informally. It doesn't really matter as long as we're heading in a common direction.
Absolutely. And I would say that it was an absolute crime that it took us to be 2 years to have a conversation, AJAMU. So
you know why? You know what? Why it's why? What I regret is the anti-imperialist summit. We do these summits that are so informative. People love them. They're usually 2 or 3 days, and they're like 10 hours a day. So, for example, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, each from like 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. And we had people like Dr. Gerald Horn on, Dr. Jill Stein, and other great anti-imperialists I know I'm missing right now. But that was one. We were like, how can we get in touch with them?
Yeah.
And we didn't want to be rude and say, hey, Jill, can you, we were trying to do it organically and get to you, but we weren't able to. But that's one of the regrets we had. But not to fret. Of course we're going to be doing more anti-imperialist summits. We're going to be doing more worker summits. So look for that, everybody in our
and we definitely gotta have you back on, because there's so many topics that we could dove individually longer on. Yes. So I hope we don't mind me bothering you for another appearance not too long from now. It's
anytime. Just let me know. I mean, like I said, I followed the work. Y'all doing fantastic stuff. I see your tweets. So continue to raise the contradictions. That's what we have to do.
Absolutely. Much love and respect to AJAMU Baraka. I'm going to pop you out now, AJAMU. Thank you for making time. Make sure you guys check out Black Alliance for Peace and the work that AJAMU does. Great conversation. Once again, it was a crime.
That was great.
It's a crime that took this long for it to happen. So definitely I'm not in line. Definitely one of my favorite interviews I did in a long time. So
it felt like a regular discussion. He's
it's RBN Live,
real
Tuesday.
like down to earth kind of
like Tuesdays RBN Live
guys talking.
Tuesdays RBN Live with all the RBN brothers here, so that's why it's fitting. I'm glad he was able to make it on Tuesday. It felt like RBN Live, but we just had this badass elder taking us RBN Live Premium Edition with AJAMU Baraka. So man,
he was sitting in for some of the other he was sitting in for some of the other members. But I do want to get before we exit, because we can exit if you want, or if you got other topics, it's up to you guys. But
I have CJ, this is the plan. We can do it real quick. And unless you guys have another short story, I have one short story that we can do. Just Biden.
I can stay for whatever. I can stay for a couple of short stories.
JB, you can do a story too if you have one. I got a short one because I just want to cover Biden's re-election. We can cut that.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, we can cut that as other. That'd be a good clip to cut for later. So I have that story, and JB, you can do a story. And after that, we can
close. Yeah.
Let me do quick, and I'll be right back.
Let me do some announcements really quick. JB, I don't know if we've been starring any super chats. We can do super chats after a couple of announcements here. Go ahead, sir. If you were going to say something, I'm sorry.
No. I was saying I got a lot of super chats already started. So
okay. See you. Okay, now let me get on this page. Now I can see. All right, so let's hit that like button. We're at 467 people currently watching. So let's make sure we get to 400 likes. Last time I checked, we were somewhere hovering around 200, but let's make sure we showed our. Oh, I'm sorry, 300. How much you say?
249.
249. I just refreshed it. We're at 313 now.
Oh.
If you hit refresh, the last time I just refreshed it. It says 313, and mine could be real time. Maybe it's not showing the.
It says 330.
Yeah, there we go. So thank you, everybody, hitting that like button. Show your appreciation for this great guest that we had today. And this is definitely one that we're going to be reaching out and having on the show multiple times. It sounds like he's game, so got to have him back. But hit that like button if you enjoy the conversation. Also, if you enjoyed the conversation, you got to join our Substack. And we're going to begin to write actually op-eds on there. We want to invite some of our sort of journalist friends, like the Wyatt Reeds, like the Danny Haifans. We'll invite them to kind of write pieces on particular topics. The other thing is we hit 33,000 yesterday, JB. So we're at 33,000. We are very, very appreciative. Yeah, very, very appreciative of everybody who has joined. Nick went on a bunch of shows. Savvy went on a bunch of shows, and then we just started getting a bunch of people started follow us. Is when Nick went on the Jimmy Dore show, and then Savvy went on a couple of different shows, and then it just culminated in people visibly seeing us. So welcome everybody, new subscribers. Thank you for joining. We have memberships for those that are brand new. $3.99 gives you a couple of perks. Just hit that join button next to the video or on our channel to see the details of what you get. Check out our website, Revolutionary Blackout Network. A lot of updated information on there, like the RBN library has its own hyperlink now. Right on the homepage, you can see some of the renovation photos. The last but not least, we are, before I pass it to you, JB, to read those, we are having the launches of our chapters. So I'll toss these up here. So if you're interested, we got Detroit, we got Long Beach, where I'm at. We have KC or Kansas City, where Nick is. We have Orlando, where JB is. And of course, the Queen Bee, Sabby's out in Boston. So if you're looking to join any of our chapters, our founding chapters in these 5 cities, contact us by email, info@Rev Black Network. In the subject line, make sure you put the city. Otherwise, we won't know which city you're in and who to give your email to. So if you're in Orlando, put Orlando in the subject line. If you're in Kansas City, put Kansas City. If you're in Long Beach, put Long Beach. I'll pass it to you, Nick, for the next. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Fundraising for our editor, to pay our employee. And scrolling down below is our GoFundMe, and our goal is $1,000. And JB, go ahead with the super chat, sir.
Okay. So there was something that I saw a little bit earlier today. And when I saw it, I said, yeah, no, this guy is just, he's all wrong. Bill Maher. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. But there was a question that Bill Maher asked, and it feels like a lot of times, especially when Black Democrats try to answer the question, they fumble. So I just want to show you guys this. So here we go. And I want you guys to give what you would say to Bill Maher. So let's go.
Like Chicago, like most of the shootings are young Black men killing other young Black men. Is that not correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Much more than what the cops do. Why doesn't anybody talk about that? Well, I mean, why aren't there,
we do.
100?
This is what white people do all the time. Hold on.
Who would have the
This
respect?
is gonna be a very hard video clip to get into. This is gonna be very hard.
I mean, we could just comment on that. You don't even got to say nothing else.
This is gonna be a very hard video to get to. Because you have white people say this all the time. They're like, why are Black people so worried about government sanctioned killing for their people? Why wouldn't we be worried about that? Then they say, why don't you guys focus more on black crime? As if we in the community, we getting killed and no one having a conversation about it. Like Bill Maher. So apparently Bill Maher he has his posts on the streets. He got his posts on the hood and hear what we talking about. Nigga,
what he means to say is, why is nobody talking about that nationally? That's what he means to say, is why nobody talking about that nationally? Like we're talking about those. Why would we go to white communities to talk about black on black crime? Why would we do that? Why wouldn't we just go to other Black people and talk? That doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't hear these conversations, Bill. The conversations you're talking about, you're not invited to those conversations.
Exactly. So
even by marriage.
Let's continue. I can go on so much on this point, but JB, go ahead and we can continue.
But here's the thing: the gentleman that he asked the question to, he fumbles. All right.
Of course he does.
He's probably a Black capitalist.
A Black liberal can't handle that question.
Right. If you ask this to somebody who's in the system, a Black person who's participating in the blue-red system, they don't have an answer for this because they're not going to attack capital. That's why they don't have an answer. They're going to fumble. This is an easy answer to have, and we'll get to that. But go ahead with the video if you like, JB.
All right.
Would have the respect of those people saying, what are you doing to yourselves? Why are you killing each other?
I mean, no way to live.
Hey, pause.
Community.
Let it play. Like that's so ridiculous. Like, you see, that's racist. And you don't even realize. He said, "Why are you guys doing this to yourself?" Question: JB, have you shot and killed someone? CJ, have you shot and killed someone? You guys see how the sins of Black people are always propagated on the entire community? Imagine if I went to a random white dude. Imagine if I went to Billy. Like, Billy, why don't you do something about the Iraq war? Why is white America going and killing people all over the world? Billy be like, what the fuck? I got nothing to do with that. That's what we're like whenever you motherfuckers bring up Black crime. And that has nothing to do with us.
It's just so stupid. It's such a stupid point because it's so easily proven. And the first person who I heard this was in a rap song, Talib Kweli. It's so stupid because statistically, it's the same numbers. When you're talking about white people killing white people, it's the same numbers as Black people killing Black, as Latin people killing Latin. It's the same numbers because we're segregated, you dumb fuck. Because listen, the same reason it would be like Germany saying, "Hey, why are you worried about bombing Germany? What about American on American crime?" It's because Americans live around each other, dumb fuck. Who are we gonna murder but each other? What crime? Who are we going to commit crime against? But each other. That's who you live around. Just so these statistics are the same. So why isn't he asking? Why aren't we talking about white on white crime then?
Because he is brainwashed and participating in the brainwashing, because he doesn't realize that what he's talking about is crime of proximity. You basically commit crimes against people within your proximity. And most white people are around other white people. Like, for instance, we should ask him, why are all these white fathers they're killing their entire families when things go awry? Why don't you do something about it? Or we can ask Bill Maher about all the school shootings and pin that on him. But we don't, because we know it's just a crime of proximity. So the same thing has to be done regarding us. It's always a crime of proximity. Black people are around black people. So, of course, that's what's going to happen.
And last point before we continue the video, we got to have a conversation about what is a crime, because white people in white America love their fucking crime statistics where they only criminalize the black community. They're like, oh my God, look how the black crime rate is so much higher than the white crime rate, ignoring that our communities are extremely policed. And they ignore, like, when you have a Wall Street banker who illegally forecloses on someone's home and they go homeless, how is that not violence? How is that not essentially murdering someone? We have people. You have police, and we have a system that is built by white America that have migrants and children in detention cells where they was reported they was being raped by DHS and law enforcement officers. Does that count as a crime? Every single time a migrant immigrant is raped by our state, does that get marked as white crime? If a white officer, every time a U.S. soldier murders a citizen overseas, does that get marked as a crime for the white community? No, it does not. The crime of the white community is legalized. They have legalized white-collar crime. They have legalized murder. They call it our law enforcement system. They call it our military-industrial complex. And then when people die by it, they're like, whatever, this is what it is. No, the way I say it, that's y'all fucking crimes. That's why whenever they say the black community is uniquely violent, I'm like, did the black community kill 2 million people in Iraq? Did the black community torture millions of people because of Operation Condor? You guys see how they count every violent thing the black community does, but they motherfucking lead genocide. Oh, that doesn't count. We're a country. No, that's a crime, motherfucker. That's a crime. That's a legalized crime that you guys do that you guys don't mark down. Period.
Right.
Go ahead, see Gerald JB. We continue the video.
I was just gonna say that's what you do. If you say if you're the person who draws a line between crime and not, and you say everything I do is on the side of not crime, and then you go, look, why are you doing that? But this is the point. Let me put it as an analogy. It'd be like being on a plantation, and then the slave owner saying, What? Why are you worried about who I'm killing? Why don't you worry about the slave on slave crime that's going on? Yeah. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? So he's basically trying to say, you don't even value your own lives. You're killing yourselves. And it's manifested through when black men are killing, whatever example that he gave. And the problem with this question and why people like, these milquetoast black people can't answer it is because this is a problem this is a question that starts with capitalism and slavery. The answer to this question starts there. Yeah. And that's not, so this is not an answer. This is not an answer that I can just go sum up in a couple of lines. The answer to this question, why a black male will run over drugs and kill somebody over shoes, why is that happening? That starts with slavery. You're not ready to have that conversation, white America. You're not ready to have that conversation. It'll blow your mind to understand how that's connected. You'll be like, what? Because you're waking up out of the propaganda that has been like forced into your brain through education, through your culture. This video clip that we play all the time, it's all about gaslighting. It's all about pretending what's happening to people is not happening. That's what this is all about. What's happening to you black people is not. What do you mean? The police is killing you. You guys are killing yourselves. You see what I mean? It's gaslighting. What's happening to you is not happening to you by the police. It's your own selves, people.
And
So
just
ridiculous.
And
before
this
I
guy,
can,
Bill Maher's a liberal too, by the way. This disgusting shit that we didn't even get to this black guy's answer yet because Bill Maher is so disgusting.
You don't even
I
need, you don't
know.
even need to
This is the
play it.
guy-
I think we're having a conversation. I don't think you
Yeah.
need to play it, JB.
Yeah, that's
We're
what I'm saying.
having a conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, CJ,
Go ahead.
JB, this is the person that the Bernie progressive left is trying to gaslight us to thinking that is our ally. They would say, why you guys are not comfortable voting with Democrats? They would say that the liberals are allies. Why the conservatives are our enemy? The liberals are the closest people we have to our friend. Listen to what Bill Maher is saying right here. They consider this motherfucker our friend. This is what a white liberal is, guys. This is why I tell you guys, white liberals are as racist, and I personally, and I speak anecdotally, have more racist bullshit that come from white liberals than conservatives any day. And this is what Bill Maher propagate, as you hear right now. But JB, I know you want to try.
White liberals just have logic. They have their logic behind what makes them not racist. I'm not racist because I don't use the N-word. That what makes me not racist. My opinion on the police state has nothing to do with race. That has to do with safety. You see how now I've rationalized myself out of being racist? I don't use the N-word. And the reason I support police state, it has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with safety. Whitewashing. Go ahead, JB, if you want to play it some more. Go ahead.
Well, one of the things that I honestly would tell people when they talk about this is I want you to go on Google and look up who has the most oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the word. I'm forgetting the word, but yeah, so who has the most not acquittals, but I forgot the word. For some reason my mind went blank. I had it in here. Yeah. But but I'll continue really quick. And I'll get it once we
I'm interested to see what the black guy says. Because we know he's about to you already spoiled it, but we already know he's about. I can tell by the way this motherfucker looks that he's about to fuck. The fact that he was even invited on Bill Maher's show is I know he's gonna fuck this up.
Like AJAMU. Imagine if he invited AJAMU.
Oh, he would
answer this question. Yeah, come on.
Live. This dishonors our community. Come on. We're better than this.
Right. I feel like it's never addressed.
And what I would want to observe is that any structural move that you want to make requires a majority of the people to get behind it. Requires democratic politics to get behind it. And in order to get a majority of the voters in Chicago or any place else to get behind anything that's going to cost them money, they
you guys know Glenn Lowry, right?
They have to feel that.
I do not know who the hell
Glenn Lowry, and I only know him because of Bad Faith Podcast. Bree introduced him to me because she had a debate with this guy. This guy is a coon of the highest order. Unapologetic, black capitalist, right-wing kind of guy. He's the kind of guy that was like, the problem with the black community, it isn't oppressive capitalism. It isn't the police state that steals our wealth. It's because black people listen to too much of the hip-hop. They don't pull up their pants. That's this guy.
And that's the guy he's asking the question. You see?
Yes. This is the guy.
That's the guy he's asking the question.
Bill Maher brought the coonest of coons to bring. And if you guys are curious, look up Bree's debate with Glenn Lowry because I think Bree did a great job, and she's extremely patient because she brought this guy on and she dismantles him. And to this guy's credit, there was a few times where he concedes like, "Yeah, Bree, you're actually right on this. Bree, you're actually right." Because they were talking about black community, and she was picking apart what he was getting wrong. And it's not he has a right wing pull your boots up bootstrap mentality. He blamed the black community for everything, and that's why white America, right wing white America loves this guy. This guy is way more massive than RBN will ever be. Black radical politics will never be more popular than the kind of politics that he does, where he tells white Americans why you should feel good about your country. Why it's not your fault, it's our fault for our oppression. He's the Candace Owens for that, and he's way. And believe it or not, he's way better than Candace Owens because Candace Owens is like an obvious clown. Like he's there, he's the guy who will sit there and he will, in a very educated, bullshit manner, explain to you why your oppression is your fault. So check out Bree's debate with this guy. Cause Bree dismantles him, and she brings up basic points that he never even considered. Anyway, that's a long preface, but let the video continue because I know exactly who this motherfucker is. Because after that debate, I started paying attention to do more. Bree introduced him, and ever since that debate, I would see random tape from him. He always there leading in with some tune ass shit. So let's. It's very interesting that Bill brought this guy on, and of course he floundered it. But continue, JP.
What I wanted to say before was look up who has the most exonerations in the United States and what racial group.
Yes.
So just
exonerations was the word you was trying to remember. Was exoneration?
Yeah. Look,
that's not a word. That's a word we use maybe once every year. So that's understandable. Yeah, seriously, right? When do you say exoneration? Seriously, when was the last time, Nick, you said exoneration? Like, we don't say it. That's a word we rarely say. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thanks.
They have to feel safe. They have to feel that the people who are in charge are on their side. And that's why Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson needs to come and give speeches in which he says this is contemptible behavior. We won't tolerate it in our city. The reason we have cops is precisely in order to stop this from happening. And if you do it on our watch, you're going to go to jail.
Hold up. I'll be quick because I want the video to keep playing, so I'll be very quick. Yeah. They always say this shit. We got cops, and why you guys keep undermining the cops? Let the cops do the jobs that they're clearly not doing.
And you can't say this about Chicago. They're talking about Chicago. Chicago has the highest per capita. They spend the most money on the police. You can't blame the crime on the police.
Bro,
yeah. So what's happening? What's happening in Chicago? Go ahead.
I wish these motherfuckers had me on these panels, man. Because these people say the dumbest stuff.
They would never have you on.
These PMCs say the dumbest stuff, and they say with confidence. And this is why Bree destroyed this guy, dismantled him, because they just say shit that makes no sense on face value. You guys said we have all these cops. This is why we have a crime problem, because you guys are undermining the cops, even though the cops is not solving the problem. Like, if you were there on that panel, all you have to do is just simply bring the obvious follow-up question is, if cops are going to solve this, why haven't they with historic police budget? No, and they do this all the time on these liberal panels. They're like, man, yeah, they undermine cops. Yeah, man, we need to get more money in police. They ignore the obvious that police has been more well-funded, more well-armed. We have the most well-armed, well-funded, militaristic police force in human history. Do you guys understand? In the history of humanity, society has never seen a police force like we have in the United States of America. If they're not stopping crime now, they never will.
Yeah.
Never will. Go ahead, JB. And then we continue. I want to hear more about it. That's such an obvious point to make. And as an abolitionist, as someone who founded 10 Demands, I did so much oppo on these people. They do this all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. They be like, ha ha, you fucking silly leftists. You guys want to solve public safety? Crime is up. Yeah, we spend a lot of money on policing. Yeah, we determine public policy for decades. But crime is up, and but for some reason it's your fault. It's your fault.
We need to make speeches. We got to get them and make speeches so that it'll stop the Crips and Bloods from shooting each other. Like, dude, come on.
But you see how the liberal class
gang activity, housing, food, education will. See, this is the thing that they don't get. And they're always getting there like, oh, we just need to have our black leaders talk to. Like, no, they're not leaders. What did Malcolm X say? They're a bunch of clowns. They're clowns. So why are we going to have clowns talk to people who are literally starving, who have to steal food just to eat, who have to sell a brick on the side of the road just in order to pay for their rent? Like, that's not going to help. Talking to a clown doesn't help. Feeding us will. Housing us will. That's the thing that people don't. Oh my God, these people, they get on my nerves because it's just like, dude, the answer's right in front of you. It's like, okay, I'm busting through a window to get a TV. Why? Maybe so that I can pawn it. Why? Because I need money. Why? Because I'm hungry.
JB, look. let's take a second to analyze how unserious his answer was, and let's play more of the video. Look at this comment right here. It said, "When was the last time a damn speech did anyone any good?" And this is another one I found. Yes, because our community is always based, and this Ray Bob person said, "Yes, and mayor giving moralizing speeches is truly the answer to crime." And yeah, go back like maybe 10 seconds, play that part again. You guys see how unserious Glenn Lowry these shit libs are? They literally said the answer to crime is that this motherfucker give a speech, but before, and then people are gonna be moved, and the crime. This is how unserious they are. Go ahead, CJ. I know you want to try.
But before you play it, but I wanted to point out this. You see how the white moderate. You see how Bill Maher is supposed to be a liberal, but he's here trying to prop up the police state. That's what this is about. Because Brandon Johnson is supposedly the defund the mayor. He's the defund the police mayor. Because he doesn't say defund the police, but he's saying we should he's saying what it is. That's supposedly what he's gonna do. I'll believe it when I see it. I think this guy just saying bullshit, and I think the police union is gonna twist his arm, and he's eventually not gonna do what he's saying he's gonna do. But because he is even sort of is saying things that would be like reallocating things, Bill Maher, the one who's supposed to be progressive, liberal, on our side, black people, is playing the white liberal, bringing on a black coon because he can't have a white person saying this. So he says, I got to have a black face. Yeah. Find the coonest ass motherfucker out there. And he did, and brings him on to prop up the police state. This is Bill Maher trying to prop up the police state. Go ahead, JB.
That's so pathetic.
All right. Coontastic.
In which he says this is contemptible behavior. We won't tolerate it in our city. The reason we have cops is precisely in order to stop this from happening. And if you do it on my watch, you're going to go to jail.
But they haven't.
To say that in order to get the white taxpayers in the city not to move
white liberals like hell yeah. Thank you, Glenn. Probably a good one.
Like
one of the good ones
comes up with.
But I mean, okay. So I also read this week in the paper, one in 3 children in America cannot read at a basic level of comprehension. 85% of black students lack proficiency in reading skills. We already spent a lot of money on schools. So you're going to keep telling me more money will fix this? Because I feel like this is much more connected to the problem.
How is this person an ally? How is this person an ally to anybody? How is Bill Maher an ally to who?
No. Look. This is one of the reasons why I was sad he was here, because she can break this guy down right here. But here's the thing that people like Bill Maher doesn't understand. Your zip code dictates how much taxes go to a particular school district and a particular school. So therefore, the ones with the lower taxes tend to be the worse off neighborhoods. And so guess what? The ones with the more richer neighborhoods actually end up paying more taxes that go to their schools.
And No Child Left Behind. And No Child Left Behind. That combined with No Child Left Behind, which my state has, like the higher that you get on these bullshit state test scores determine your school funding. My school was funded to shit. Like our school was garbage compared to Lee Summit, compared to
come down to Compton High. Come down to Compton High and you tell me. So how JB is making a very good point, because schools are funded by local housing taxes. So if you don't own a home, guess what happens? You don't get any money. So if you go to a school down by the projects in Watts, you're living in the projects. Who's paying taxes for your school? No one. So what do you think their school's going to look like, Bill fucking Maher? So what do you think their quality of education is going to look like? That's just one hurdle. How about hunger, bitch? Because their parents are getting paid slave wages, bitch.
Liberals
it's like it's a complete not understanding of what people are going through.
Yeah.
As black people are supposed to do all types of flips over through this oppression to achieve the American dream. And when we don't, you want to point to a statistic without telling the story of repression, oppression, racism, defunding schools, you fucking piece of shit. This is disgusting what this guy is doing. And then we're going to have him one day say something good, and then everybody going to say, oh, to Bill Maher.
Fuck Bill Maher. So according to the liberal brain, this guy is better than Tucker Carlson.
Yes.
This guy led with why are the blacks killing each other and why can't the blacks read? That's what he just did. But liberals think this guy is better than Tucker Carlson. This guy has the moral high ground over nobody. Liberals legitimately think they have a moral high ground over Tucker Carlson. I have watched Tucker Carlson way more have I done in this last year than I have usually in corporate media in my entire life. Tucker Carlson does a lot of disgusting stuff. Tucker Carlson never stuck this low. We just straight up said the blacks are killing each other. The blacks can't read. And I watched Tucker. What Bill Maher did right here is worse than anything you will see from Dream Pierre, Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson. Our thesis is they're the same. That's why we
he can get away with it. That's why.
They're the fucking same people. And they have Trump derangement syndrome, and Jimmy does a great job pointing this out. They have Trump derangement syndrome because they see Trump in their shadow. Trump is what they see themselves as, so they got to overly project. Bill Maher hates Trump because this motherfucker is worse than Trump, as bad as Trump. This guy is a racist scumbag. Based on this, what you just see here, as bad as anyone else you will hear from right-wing media. And Mouse, I see you. They're right. Malcolm warned us. This is the white liberal that Malcolm X warned us about. You guys,
I felt like you were gonna say a point. I feel like I hear where you were gonna go with. Let me hear what you were gonna just about to say. I want to keep it on your tongue. I want to hear it because I felt like I hear you were just about to say. Go ahead, JB.
Well, no, CJ, your anger, I felt that here. Remember what I said? You need to be my anger translator. That's why. But the thing is that somebody like Bill Maher is really just a stenographer for the empire. And the thing is that he can say this because people will go, well, he's a liberal and he's a Democrat. So because of that, he's on our side. He's just telling us, he's just one of our allies telling us what we need to hear. That's all it basically is. And in reality, he's basically doing what a lot of Democratic presidents have been able to do, is pull the fascist type of logic while having on the face of, see, I'm just a friend. When in reality, look at what happened with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, he ushered in the Telecommunications Act of 1996. He also helped usher in the crime bill of 1994. So all these things that were really, underpinnings for fascism was done by a Democratic president. I'm not saying that the Republicans are any better, but really the Republicans, all they do is rack up the pins, and then who knocks the pins down is the Democrat. And that's how it goes every single time. Even in rhetoric like Bill Maher's, a Republican may rack up the pins, but who's knocking the pins down? It's Bill Maher. He's the one that's saying all this racist BS. And now you have all his audience clapping for it. And then you got this dude that's just a black face that is used to co-sign for it. And in reality, Bill Maher wouldn't dare have people like you, CJ, you, Nick, AJAMU Baraka, Sabby Sabs, Margaret Kimberly. He wouldn't dare have any of us on, because the minute we talk about that, we would call him out on this racist bullshit. And I would be like, and don't you dare bring up you have a black wife into this, because guess what? Slave masters rape black women too.
Who has a black wife?
No. I'm like, no, do not play this bullshit. Because that's
what does that mean? Yeah. Thomas Jefferson had a black slave that he had sex with and has kids with. What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Like, you can't be sexually attracted to somebody you see as less? Isn't that patriarchy? That happens all the time. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that is
such
patriarchy.
A stupid. It's such. Yeah, that's the definition of that is what, not the definition, that is what patriarchy is.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the dynamic with a lot of male-female relationships where you're in love with a person you see as less. So what do you mean? Like that can't be the dynamic that you can be racist and be married to a black person. One doesn't exclude the other. But guys, I've already went past my time. I was supposed to leave 10 minutes ago to go get my daughter. So I'm gonna hop out. You guys finish. I'm gonna watch while you finish. I know you got another segment, a short segment. So I gotta get running because I'm gonna be late.
Yeah.
Sorry. I gotta abruptly go, but it was so good. It was like this Bill Maher shit was so good. I had to. She's watching. My daughter's watching too. So I'll be on my way, babe. All right. I'll see you guys.
See you, TJ.
Did you want me to continue or finish it up? Or?
Yeah, we can continue.
Okay. All right. We got just like a couple minutes, like I think a few seconds left actually. So, whoo, this guy. All right. Let me go back a few seconds. All right.
Of people who can't read, yes, they're going to have problems with gainful employment. And it seems like, you know, a lot of times the solutions that come from the left seem symbolic. They don't seem like we're actually addressing what really needs to be done, is get kids learning, get them reading, get them able to have a job. I don't know how.
How do you turn that to a left criticism? Like he's performing class warfare. That's exactly what he's doing, because he said, "What the left is unserious about the solutions to the literacy problem in the United States." Even though Cuba, a communist country, has a better literacy rate than the United States, despite a Cuban blockade. Why did they do that? China as well. Our literacy rate is a joke because of right-wing politics, because of defunding of schools. So how did that become a left criticism? As if left politics was implemented. Bill Maher was like, oh my God, look at this problem that our society is facing. Goddamn lefties. Who was in charge? Our country has been dominated by trickle-down right-wing politics my entire life, and that's me being very conservative with the estimate there. Now, I was born in 91. And since 91, our country has been hard right-wing. So how does the left wing get criticized for the result of this country? That's what Bill Maher did. He said, oh my God, look at the blacks who can't read. Goddamn lefties. How does that make sense? He punching down instead of punching up. He's going to vote for Jim Crow Joe and all these capitalists who's the result of this, but he's going to punch down. Bill Maher is a scumbag of the highest order, and liberals like him, but they want us, they hate Tucker Carlson. They think Tucker Carlson the worst. They are the same thing, okay? Now, JB also had a story, but I don't know if you also have anything else to share.
Well, I just wanted to show one more thing before we end on this topic. This is out of apmresearchlab.org. This says about 130 million adults in the U.S. have low literacy skills, according to Gallup analysis of data from the U.S. Department of Education. This means more than half of Americans between the ages of 16 and 74, which is 54%, read below the equivalent of a sixth grade level. The illiteracy problem is not a black problem. It's a United States problem, and most of the country, most of the country is actually white. So therefore, if you're going to talk about literacy rates, let's talk about the entire country, and let's talk about how our schools are constantly defunded, especially from the right.
But notice he brings up literacy.
Why is Bill Maher speaking for the right? That is interesting.
But notice how literacy rates come up. You bring up how literacy rates is high in the country, but people think that Bill Maher is not racist when literacy rate just so happened to come up in a conversation about the black community. You can talk about anything else. What does it say about you that when you talk about black people, the first thing that comes to your mind is literacy rates? Oh, we talking about black people. Oh my God, why literacy rates so high? Will you do that if you were talking about a white person or issue the white community facing? Will you be like, oh my God, what is the literacy rate of Virginia? No, you would not do that. No, you would not. That's just your first thought.
Rate of Montana.
But I have one story. This story not gonna be long because this is breaking news story. Okay. I just want to cover Jim Crow Joe announcing his re-election bid, and I'm gonna show you guys some headlines. and I'm gonna show you guys how my favorite show covered Joe Biden's re-election campaign. You guys know my favorite show is Morning Joe, the greatest propaganda show of all time. So we got a short clip from them. This is some headlines. I literally just pulled a few of these just so you guys see what they're talking about. Actually, I might find. Let's see if I find another one just so you guys get some more. So here's from Politico: Joe Biden's enthusiasm gap. The reality is many activists, natural surrogates. The reality is many activists, natural surrogates to bolster Biden's message, are growing wary. You see how they just assume activists are part of the Biden and Democrat Party apparatus. No, the real activists are shut out. People like Sunrise, Gen Z for Change, those are not real activists. Electoral politics action is not activism. They like you see these people on Twitter all the time, these shit libs. They be like, yeah, man, I did some phone banking. I helped raise money for this politician. Yeah, I'm getting to some activism. Like, fam, that's not activism. Bourgeoisie activism is not activism from my Marxist point of view. Here's another headline. Is Biden a strong nominee for 2024, or is that malarkey? Can we have a conversation about this real quick? You have Joe Biden, a terrorist, the bomber of the Nord Stream pipeline. In a rational society, Joe Biden would not be allowed to run. You have a guy who committed a giant act of eco-terrorism.
Yeah.
This guy should be disqualified. That's why when liberals and progressive shit libs, whenever they say stuff like Trump, man, we're not charging him with crimes because it's political. It's not a political process. No one is above the law. They actually say that. They're like, no one's above the law. This is why we're charging Trump. This is not a political process. Meanwhile, you guys got a fucking terrorist on top of your ticket. And yes, JB, yes, my friends, yes, my family, that is how we should refer to Joe Biden from now on. Why shouldn't we? That's how they refer to us. We were protesting Cop City, JB, and they label people domestic terrorists for protesting Cop City. So how about we call Joe Biden and all his enablers the terrorists that they are? The Democratic Party has a terrorist on top of the ticket. Someone who's bombed the Nord Stream pipeline. Someone who funded multiple genocides. Can we talk like that from now on? Because maybe if we talk like that from now on, we'll put more shame on people like this. This is my funny of the day. This is Bernie Sanders rushing to endorse Joe Biden. Because you know it's coming. You know it's coming. You're going to have Bernie, who already said he's going to support Biden over Marianne Williamson and the others. So to me, it's been extremely weird to see Marianne Williamson and her supporter upset at us, even though their biggest obstacle is the Bernie industrial complex, Bernie Sanders and the progressive establishment themselves that won't support them. But they seem way more upset. And I want to ask you guys this. They seem way more upset at Black activists who have no money and power not supporting Marianne Williamson than people like Bernie Sanders and the institutional progressives who straight up said, I'm good. I'm good, Marianne. Why do you guys think they're more angry at us? It's almost like they are more likely to punch down more than anything. So the obvious reaction to anyone who's a leftist will be regarding Biden's re-election campaign is that this guy is a terrorist. This guy has funded ICE and the border industrial complex more. He deported more people than Donald Trump. He's funding the police, like he's funding multiple genocides. There's no way that the left position is to support Joe Biden. And if you are, we need to challenge these people and hold these gaslighting charlatans on the left accountable who's about to endorse Joe Biden. We about to go to war. Go ahead, JB. I'm ranting. Go ahead, guys. Go ahead.
Nick, I want to add to what you just said because you called him a terrorist. I would also call him a torture enabler because has he closed down Guantanamo Bay?
DHS, he's spending DHS. There was accusations of torture in the migrant facilities. And then Joe Biden saw the allegations of torture and child labor. That's a story I didn't get a chance to get into. How there was whistleblowers that was warning the Biden administration about child labor being used at DHS migrant camps. And the Biden administration ignored it. They was like, So JB, finish your point. I just want to add that to the torture.
And the thing is, it's like a lot of times people will talk about leaders of other countries and they'll call them dictators and things like that. I'm like, no, let's actually go to the actual definition of what some of these words mean. And if you want to go for terrorism, because what is a terrorist? A terrorist does a violent act for political gain. And what was a violent act done for political gain? The violent act was destroying the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, right? And out of admission, Joe Biden said, oh, yeah, we're going to take care of it. We're going to do it. Out of admission. So therefore, he admitted to a terrorist act done by the hands of the United States. And so if you're going to sit here and talk about, oh, well, we want, Joe Biden's supposed to be a president that believes the science. Well, what science did he believe? Because he blew up a pipeline which caused a massive ecological disaster. And it also strains the relationship that the United States has with Germany. Because you literally just cut off their energy supply to one of your allies.
Yep.
And my question is, hey Germany, you gonna take that shit lying down?
And they're like, yes, we are. We're more than happy to. We're more than happy to sell our people out. And that's why European leaders are struggling. Finland was like, man, we're going to follow the United States and then pin him out. The prime minister's out. France is facing protests all the time. The prime minister can't keep a leader. They can't keep a prime minister in the UK. And to your point, everyone knows Biden is eco-terrorist to the point where everyone in the media was demanded not to talk about it. The progressive left was demanded not to talk about this. Rashida Tlaib was asked a question by a protester at a town hall she was holding, and she was asked about her thoughts about the Nord Stream piping, and she said, nah, can't talk about that, son. Get him the fuck out of here. How dare you ask me a question? What do I look like? Someone who represents you? What do you think you are? Some sort of fucking citizen I'm obligated to answer questions to? Get the fuck out of here. You better ask me some red blue shit. Ask me about how bad Trump is or get the fuck out of here. That's what Rashida Tlaib did when asked about Nord Stream. Why? Because this is the obvious culture that's been establishment. This is Washington Post explaining on the Nord Stream attack. It said leaders see little benefit from digging too deeply and finding an uncomfortable answer. That's come from the Washington Post. That means leaders like Rashida Tlaib and the progressive left, Bernie Sanders, and everyone who's about to endorse Joe Biden, they're about to endorse Joe Biden because they have a don't ask, don't tell policy. They're like, don't ask, don't tell about the Nord Stream pipeline. Don't talk about it. You guys about to end. JB, I hope you guys ready to go to war. I've been waiting for this since 2020. I am ready for a rematch because I remember you Bernie motherfuckers was so mad at me. So mad at me because I refused to vote for Joe Biden. They all refused to admit that I was right. And now we're about to do it again. You're going to have all the progressives that are ready to endorse Joe Biden. And guess what? We're going to be looking at these motherfuckers and we're going to be there to call them out because the RBN never existed before this. And we're not going to allow people, the working class, to be gaslighted by the wave of the progressive DSA left that is about to endorse Joe Biden because this is the most important election of our lifetime. So I'm gonna go to this part of the segment, and we almost done because this video not that long. This is only a 6-minute video. That's why we're gonna get through all of it because I'm not even gonna show you guys the Joe Biden election campaign launch. I'm not gonna show you guys any other headlines. This video right here is gonna sum it up. This is why I go to Morning Joe. Morning Joe is the voice of the Democratic Party. So look at the unhinged propaganda that has already been promoted about Joe Biden, and we're about to debunk this piece by piece. And when you see this, you're gonna realize how weak of a campaign the Biden administration is about to run. So let's get into this, and we see how much we can tolerate.
Your thoughts on President Biden's re-election announcement?
You know, I thought the announcement was pretty skillful in the sense that it gives you an introduction to Joe Biden. Again, another introduction. His calmness. is
and something else when you think when playing this, because I always make the point. I drove this point home when I was on Glenn's show, when I was on Jimmy's show, when I was on Fault Line Radio. I want people to decolonize their mind. People think Russia and China and other countries have unique propaganda, have unique state media. As you watch this, this is supposed to be a news program, guys. This is an advertisement for a political official that had the same. They have the same donor. Joe Biden is their big donor is Moderna, weapon defense contractors. They are the same people who donate to these people. So they're gonna cut an ad. And watch this. This is state media of the highest level.
Deliberateness, his avoidance of calamity, his desire to calm this country down. And he's going to walk us through it. He's not going to run through it. And he's going to be Joe Biden. And I think he's very familiar to people. He's going to become even more familiar. And he's going to stand out in an age when people are yelling and screaming on both sides of the political aisle. And yet here he is. Just facts, man. Calmly, deliberately, and pump the brakes on the riotous atmosphere.
So this is a good, and JB, I know you want to chime in, so you can go ahead. But they're gonna continue this theme. They're gonna like Biden is the calm candidate, but Donald Trump is chaos. Biden is unique calmness. This motherfucker is leading us into World War III. Straight up leading us to nuclear war. But their message on Morning Joe is that Biden is the calm, calculating candidate. This motherfucker is destroying United States standing. He's destroying the petrodollar.
Look, if I wanted to see fellatio, I would turn on Pornhub.
Sorry I'm doing this to you, JB. Sorry I'm doing this to you.
And I don't want to see this dude doing what he's doing to Joe Biden right now. Like, yeah, dear God.
This is not safe for work right now. This is not safe for work. He is fellating them on national TV. This is disgusting.
Yes. Like, good God, man.
Oh, they just got started, JB. I'm gonna let it play because it's not a long video. So I'm gonna let it play a little more. Because I think a lot of the propaganda speaks for itself. We're gonna knock it down piece by piece. So I'm gonna let it play. Look how this is just we are analyzing and we are witnessing how the United States is the most propagandized country in the world. When I first started as a citizen journalist, and JB, you remember, I used to tweet that shit all the time. I used to like United States is more propaganda because I would believe it and every ounce of fiber of my being. I used to get pushback. People like, what? What are you talking about? Don't you know about Iran? Don't you know about Russia? Don't you know about China? Don't you know about Venezuela? And I'm like, bro, did you watch this shit? So that's why I do these segments, because I'm here to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about here. No other state media has shit on this. So here we go. I'll play some more. You gonna see what I'm talking about?
We cling to each and every day in the news.
You know, Claire, I was told very early on when I started campaigning against an incumbent that when you're running against anybody, it's all about contrasts. What's the contrast you take to voters? With Joe Biden, we do have that calmness. Nobody's calling him Mr. Excitement. Nobody's shouting out hope and change. Nobody's shouting out it's morning in America. You got a guy who's calm.
And look at this part. You got to notice how
they keep saying calm. They keep saying, look, they keep saying that word. And I'm like, that doesn't mean what? Let me ask you this. If there is a fire, if you are on fire, would you want someone to calmly, slowly, gingerly out? Is that what you want? Is that the type of person that you need? Like, come on. Like, it's like, you guys, y'all at Morning Joe, y'all lost it. Because y'all sitting here talking about, oh, well, you guys are trying to bring out some type of quality that, number one, he does not possess.
Yes.
Number two, that's the only thing you can say positively about him, because he literally led this country into a clusterfuck.
Yes, that's why.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, JB, but that's why I'm about to say what they're saying does not even make sense. Joe Biden's, remember, most people in this country, like Morning Joe, had no idea how our government works. When you analyze the action of the president, you're analyzing the actions of the executive branch, okay? When you guys talk about Build Back Better and all the other shit, that's in Congress. That's legislation. That's part of the legislative branch. The president signs on those, but they don't have a lot of influence on that. When you analyze a president, you got to analyze his actions as commander-in-chief and as head of multiple state departments, like the DHS, for example, which he expanded and blew that organization up that was using child migrant slave labor, that was sexually assaulting migrants and expanded child detention centers that became child overflow facilities under Biden for some reason. And the way that Joe Biden has handled China and the way that Joe Biden has handled Ukraine and Russia has not been calm. You got to see how the analysis of Biden has nothing to do with his policies, nothing to do with how he behaved as commander-in-chief. And the same go for the progressives. We have Marianne Wilson refuse to call him out for his corruption. We have progressives who continue to support Biden. They be like, oh my God, look, you see Build Back Better? Have you seen this? Have you seen that? Like, what has he done as president, as commander-in-chief? He has been one of the most unhinged presidents. Everything they said that Donald Trump was going to do, Joe Biden did. They said Joe Biden was going to isolate the United States and have allies turn away from the United States. That is what Joe Biden did. India, Saudi Arabia, Brazil is turning away from the United States the same way they said Trump would do. That was Donald Trump did. They said Donald Trump was going to start World War III and he's going to escalate a nonstop, endless war. That is what Joe Biden has done. But meanwhile,
hold my beer.
Joe Biden was like, man, Donald Trump, Donald Trump was on some pussy ass shit. I'm gonna show you how it's really done, son. I'm gonna show you how this white supremacy empire shit is really done. And now the second point I want to get to, I'll let the video continue, is you notice, look at the class loyalty and look at their class interests. I should say, JB, look at their class interests. They know who watched your show. We hate watch this shit. We not their demographic. We just hate watch this shit. We think it's funny, and I think it's educational to point out capitalist hypocrisies and lies that they broadcast, right? But look at what they are establishing as a good thing. They are establishing calmness as a good thing, JB, because these are upper class bourgeoisie liberals who want nothing more than calm. Yes, there's millions of Americans that don't have health care, me included. Yes, there's 60,000 people who die outside of COVID because they don't have health care every year. Yes, we have a nonstop rampant police state that's killing people and locking people up and stealing their resources via civil asset forfeiture. But everyone be calm.
Everyone be calm.
Everyone be calm. You guys see what liberals want you to do? Everyone be calm. Joe Biden's here to calm you down. This is a good thing. And more Joe, all these millionaires nodding their head like, everyone be calm down. And then all the millionaire shitlibs watching this damn show like, yeah, goddamn, we need to calm the fuck down. We need to get back to the status quo, business as usual. You guys see how there's multiple layers of the bullshit they doing here?
Yeah. Joe Biden is as calm as a police officer around a unarmed black man waving his hands around. That's how calm Joe Biden is.
Look at one of the videos of protesters calling out Joe Biden for his record and see how calm Joe Biden is. Remember that video? We was like, why? You remember that, JB? Look at how calm Joe Biden is when he is challenged by the working class. And well, let me continue because once again, they're not a long video, so I'm gonna let it play.
Yeah,
and we already hinted at a lot of the propaganda themes. I'm gonna let it play a little bit more because I think live is gonna speak for itself. There's an interesting part I'm waiting for in particular, but I'll let it play.
He's normal. Now, if that doesn't excite a lot of people in most years, it just may make the difference when the alternative is chaos, calamity,
you see,
riots,
carnage,
racism, American carnage, and I am your retribution. Oh. I mean, you talk about that contrast.
If you don't know what he's talking about, Trump had a quote where he said, he's talking to his base, and he said, I am your retribution. And ever since Trump said that, MSNBC shitlibs have been melting the fuck down. How dare you make the working class upset and angry? They've been quoting this all the time. Like this is why Trump is a fascist. He said he wants his people to take retribution. JB, correct? And feel free to put back up me if you think I'm wrong with this. But don't you want a left leader to look at us and say, I am your retribution? That I am going to be the manufacturer of your anger and I'm going to fight for you? Don't you want that?
Hell, I wish somebody would.
Exactly.
I mean, don't you know, Donald Trump was lying through his teeth, through his chiclet teeth, but you know, at least he played the part. You know what I'm saying? You know, and you know, Donald Trump is just as fast as Joe Biden. Yeah, but Donald Trump at least played the part.
Right.
You know.
So way too Claire McCaskill, and they keep doing this shit. Man, Claire McCaskill from Missouri, so I know everything about her. She's the person who lost to Josh Hawley, by the way. Josh Hawley, she was running to his right. A lot of people forgot about this. Claire McCaskill, and I was in Missouri. I saw the fucking ads. There was ads on TV that was like, if you want to build the wall, you want to support Claire McCaskill over Josh Hawley because he's a young rookie that don't know how to watch them work. If you want actual shit done, vote in Claire McCaskill. If you want the border to be secure, vote for Claire McCaskill. She was running to his right. And then she lost to Josh Hawley, but they keep bringing Claire McCaskill on like, hey, Claire, what is your opinion on how Democrats can win elections? Said the biggest fucking loser. And remember, she lost during the blue wave year, guys. There's the blue wave, and she lost. And in Missouri, that was the same year that we passed a Medicaid expansion. We passed a Medicaid expansion and an increased minimum wage through ballot initiative. So you had a bunch of progressive people that voted for ballot initiative, conservative people voted for ballot initiatives that she did not support. She was an enemy of the Show Me Cannabis movement in Missouri that won. By the way, we got legalized cannabis here. We won. You want to know who opposed the Show Me Cannabis movement? Claire McCaskill. But liberals want me to think that Claire McCaskill is worse than a Republican, though. They don't pay attention to politics. Let's watch. Let's finish the rest of this. Well, it's not a long video. It's just a lot of breakdown with the bullshit they say.
And how actually the light touch, the low key approach may actually be the most dramatic strategy this year.
You know, I was interested in a poll that I saw over the last couple of weeks that tried to measure how people felt about the two parties in terms of extremism.
They are.
Because there's always an allegation by those in the Republican Party that somehow the Democratic Party is full of extremists. Not anymore in America. Most Americans agree that the Republican Party has become very, very extreme. And that's...
Y'all motherfuckers are funding Nazis, son. You are funding Nazis, and you are spending... Democrats have expanded every single Trump policy. So Trump and MAGA is extreme, but we're going to continue his border policy. Yeah, Trump and MAGA is so extreme, but we're going to continue their economic policy. How does that make sense? I'm going to let it continue.
The contrast. The contrast is between somebody you know well, somebody who represents the norms of this country in terms of uniting people and appealing to our better angels and looking up rather than down, and as opposed to a party that has been captured by a small minority of people, and they're doing things in my state. And
it's only the Republican Party that was
it is peer projection, right? Right, Claire? Hey, hang on. Here's my problem. When she talks about, this party's been taken over by extremists, that her saying that is like the Democratic Party standing there next to the Democratic Party is two men standing there next to a person. And the two people who are the Democratic and Republican Party are the Republican guy is beating up the old lady who lives on the street. And then the Democratic Party guy goes in and starts punching a few licks on the old lady going, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Look at this guy. Isn't he extreme? But he's still punching the lady too.
Right. So you have Claire McCaskill that, and it's a two-party problem, right? But they say the Republican Party was hijacked by a small amount of people. They talk about the MAGA Republicans. For one, they're not even true. Not even true. All the Republicans voted with Trump, so they do this thing where they say they're the MAGA Republicans. No, they're just the Republicans. They're like this thing where you pretend that they're different is completely absurd. But her claim is that it's only the Republican Party that's been hijacked by a small minority. So based on polling, you guys know around 85% Democrats support Medicare for all. You guys know that? We have a president that said he will veto Medicare for all. When you go down the line, Democratic voters are progressive as shit. But party don't support none of those progressive policies. So it's almost like the Democratic Party was hijacked by a small minority of people that are pushing corporate policies. The same thing Claire McCaskill accused Republicans of being. So let's continue. I'm gonna try to get through more. Like it's not a long video. There's a certain point I'm waiting for. It is hilarious. I'm gonna let it play till we get that point, unless you want to chime in, JB. Cause I know it's hard to do it.
As opposed to a party that has been captured by a small minority of people, and they're doing things in my state and many other states that are abhorrent to independent voters. Whether it's forcing a government forced birth on a rape victim, or whether it's the carnage of guns in this country and a refusal of the Republican Party to recognize that that's part of the problem. All of those things are in Joe Biden's corner. And let's remember, Joe, that this is a binary choice. This isn't a referendum on Joe Biden. This is, who do you like better? And I think Joe Biden is in a pretty good place right now.
You see how they program people to think? Hey, JB, this is a binary choice. Don't think it's anything other than binary choice. There's no third party. Hell, there's no. You can not vote. That's a legitimate option too. I'm more in line with supporting a third party, but if you don't want to vote, that's a legitimate option as a supporter. But she said, "Oh, there's a binary choice." Who does this serve? Who does that mindset serve? And you will hear progressives say shit like this. Come on, man. Third parties never win. This is a binary choice. People like Crystal Ball will say, grow up. Grow up, because you listen to this shit. But let's continue.
Jen, you've run presidential campaigns, so particularly interested in your view of what we saw this morning in this rollout, but also sort of a continuation of the message of the White House reading what happened in the midterm elections just a few months ago, which was a lot of people in this country saying, whoa.
Yeah.
A lot of you have gone too far, whether it's on guns and the school shootings we've seen just in recent weeks even, and on abortion. Just yesterday, North Dakota passed a 6-week abortion ban with only slim rape, incest, medical emergency exceptions up to 6 weeks and nothing after that. Republicans kind of burrowing in on those positions, and the White House saying, we agree, we think they've gone too far.
I mean, it's a big this is a big moment in American history, and it's hard to capture that in a video, but I think they did a good job with that. You know, he talked about, do you want more freedom or less freedom, more rights or less rights? He's bringing it to the high level that, I mean,
the person who is trying to take your rights right now is the Democratic Party. Who's trying to prosecute Julian Assange? Who is pushing the Restrict Act through? Republicans and Democrats, to be clear. But it's nonsense. We're almost done, and then we
democracy is at stake. Fundamental rights for women are at stake. That is what's happening in this election. But also talking about, they have a solid record of accomplishments. A lot of people are still not feeling great about the economy. They need to prove that these things are working. They have they can do that over the course of the next 18 months until the actual election. An agenda.
Look at you see how they skirt past that point, JB. I know some people worry about the economy. But there's some culture war shit going on. That's a big part. People feel like the economy is leaving them behind. She's like, I know some people worry about the economy. You mean one of the things that is consistently ranked as the most important thing for voters in every election? That she just skipped past real quick.
Those are things you need to prosecute the argument on. Don't just rely on the contrast, but the contrast is fundamentally there. And the contrast with Trump or whoever the MAGA Republican is, you know, if it's DeSantis or someone else, in terms of rights that they continue to advocate to take away from women, democracy being under threat, voters get it. They turned out in 2020 in huge numbers to vote for him. They turned out in 22 in big numbers to vote for Democrats and to reject.
They always say that. They always come out in big numbers. Compare our turnout to other countries. Our establishment is a set mediocrity. Like United States turnout is a joke. Even in the biggest election that they ever had, they're like, this is the most historic turnout in the history of American politics. Still shit compared to France and the UK and other countries. Standards of low expectation. Less than a minute left.
The election deniers. So you have to prosecute that argument, the high level of what's at stake in terms of democracy, as well as accomplishments, what you're going to do for people in their everyday life.
And it's just worth noting, again, the remarkable journey that Joe Biden has come, where on his third bid for the presidency in 2019, remember, he, of course, failed so poorly in Iowa and New Hampshire, and then South Carolina with the help of Congressman Clyburn's endorsement, and we're going to talk to him soon, rallies to not just win the nomination, but the presidency, and now unchallenged. No one,
Unchallenged.
no credible primary threat. No one from the Democratic Party. He is.
Remember, this is what I was waiting to get to. Let's play it again. I'll play it for again. But remember when Marianne Williamson and her supporters were like, we can't run third party because if we run third party, they will just ignore us. If we run third parties, we won't be able to debate them. So meanwhile, they in the Democrat Party, no debates, and they're still ignoring them. So listen to that part again, JB. I want you to react because this is the part I was waiting for.
Of Congressman Clyburn's endorsement, and we're going to talk to him soon. Rallies to not just win the nomination, but the presidency, and now unchallenged. No one, no credible primary threat. No one from the Democratic Party. He has got the party behind him. He is, despite concerns about perhaps the economy or his age, he can point to a robust legislative record. And we should note his leadership on the world stage with the war in Ukraine. And his team feels like they're in a very strong position
on the world
heading forward
stage.
into a re-election.
You mean his leadership on the world stage cost him crucial allies? Wait. States, everything he's saying is opposite of reality. But sorry, I'll play the close thing again. I'll play the
team feels like they're in a very strong position heading forward into a re-election bid.
There it is. That last part. So that last part is what I really was waiting for. Can you see how they just there's no challenges? The thing is, they're right because they said no Democrats are behind them. They're like, oh, they're not really challengers. No Democrats are supporting them, meaning no Bernie. What they're saying is no Bernie, no threat here, no AOC, no progressives. They're gonna back in these people. But meanwhile, Marianne Wilson supporters are more upset at us. They're more upset at us than they are at Bernie Sanders. I couldn't even get Marianne Wilson to say a bad thing about Bernie Sanders. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders and the progressive establishment completely abandoned them. But RBN is the people that tanked their campaign.
Look, I mean. Where was Sabi last week on Wednesday? I mean, wasn't she at a rally for RFK, Robert Kennedy Jr.? And didn't he just announce that he's running for president?
No challenges.
I mean, wasn't it just covered in TMZ that Afro Man is actually running for president?
Best candidate thus far.
Like, really?
But you say no challengers. No legitimate challengers.
There's no challengers. They're not they're not there. They're not there. You don't see them. You can't see me. They're not there.
and meanwhile, this comment is true by Bad Cookies. This comment is true. RFK is polling at 15%. I'm glad CJ. Actually, CJ, I want your thoughts on that segment because I saw your comments. So I know you was watching.
I watched that whole shit. I watched it, but go ahead.
This is a good comment. I'm gonna give you a take on the segment because that's all about Rebel CJ. But thank you for commenting Bad Cookie. He said RFK is polling at 15%, which is he's around 10-15%, which is true. So why would they even say that? Which prove our thesis. Craig, I said before. We told them months ago. People thought we were bad guys because we said. If you wasting time running as a Democrat, and they will come back with the replies. Well, we gotta be heard, guys. I mean, it's like Breeze put back on us. We gotta show up to debate, guys. We can't be heard if we're part of a third party. Yeah, because you're clearly being heard right now. CJ, what do you take on that segment?
Man, it's well, one, everybody knew he was going to, or pretty much everybody thought he was going to announce, but he's been pushing it back. I think he was pushing it back because maybe he was on the fence. Maybe the people in the background who has been trying to convince him, and you can't tell me no people have not been trying to convince him not to run. Because have you seen these stories that are coming out on corporate news? Oh, Joe Biden, this would never have come out if they felt secure that they were going to get him. So I think that it was kind of a push from some camp to get him out of the race. But now that he has come in and said, hey, I'm here, Twitter has gone crazy, Nick. There's all kind of shit. I know while we've been in this show, we have missed a lot. This is one of them. I wanted to make sure I brought this up as a part of this. As part of this segment right here. This is Pat the Burner. Shout out friend of the show, friend of the network. Bernie Sanders endorses Biden, rules out 2024
He
bid.
did already?
Today.
That's today?
This is today. 25 minutes ago, right here. 25 minutes ago.
This motherfucker didn't even wait. What?
This was an hour and a half ago. Sorry, because he tweeted it an hour ago. And when he tweeted it was 30 minutes old. So this is about 90 minutes old.
This motherfucker Bernie Sanders could not wait. So wait, hold on. Let me put my meme back up. I literally
go ahead. Go ahead.
Wait, hold on. I put this meme up today. I'm pretty proud of it. This is my meme I had today because when I saw that Biden was running for re-election, I put this tweet and I said live footage of Bernie Sanders rushing to endorse Joe Biden again. This motherfucker really did this.
That's
shit.
true. That's true.
He got the notification on his goddamn phone. He got a CNN sliding notification that said Joe Biden announced his re-election. He said, James, get my bags. We got to announce a press conference right now. Oh, my God.
It goes so well. Your meme goes so well with the actual news. This is the AP. It says Biden announces re-election bid, and then it says Bernie Sanders endorses. Literally, like he couldn't wait. It was in waiting. I think they probably coordinated.
I better see Kyle Kalinske, bro. I better see Kyle Kalinske come out with a scathing video. This motherfucker been going after everybody who refused to support Marianne. But meanwhile, Bernie Sanders could not wait to kill her campaign. Could not wait. He's like, bro, Biden announces Marianne, I'm about to cut your head off. It's over for you.
I'm gonna look and see if anybody has. Let's see if any of the boutiques has tweeted about it, like any Emmas or Kyles. I'm gonna look it up and see if anybody has tweeted about.
Yo, this is massive because all those people who were behind Bernie in 2020 and are now behind Marianne Williamson are like, oh yeah, well Marianne's gonna pick up the torch that Bernie was going to carry, and now Bernie's saying, screw y'all. I'm going with Joe. And then they went on with Joe. And I'm just like, so is that your man? Is that your man? Because your man's just left you. Like, for real?
That's so fucking hilarious, bro. Like, I was supposed to, this man really endorsed this man on top of the hour. This man had him endorsed by lunchtime, son.
Look at that. That's it.
An hour ago. So fucking funny, bro. This
just happened, and here's the list of people who will endorse Biden.
Oh my God!
Look at this. This guy's on point. I don't know who this is, but this is true. You telling me both Robert Kennedy and Marianne Williamson? Oh well, I don't know RFK that well, so I don't know, but I know Marianne Williamson will endorse. Bernie Sanders has endorsed. AOC will endorse. We already know these clowns. All these clowns down here will endorse. I mean, come on. Jamal Bowman, Mike Figueroa. Oh, I didn't even see this. He got the boutique left on here too. Voss spelled wrong.
Oh yeah. Wait, who sent that tweet? I was looking at something else. Who sent that tweet? Oh, that's someone else. So, 100% right. Yeah, all these people definitely gonna. And the only person on that list, actually, no, he's good. The list is good.
Voss, I think he spelled Voss wrong. But he has Anna on here. He has, and that's the thing. They're all huffing and puffing about corporate Democrats and blah blah blah. And you're not having no primary. Just get this: all of the Marianne Williamson people who are saying all this stuff about Joe Biden and rigging the election, they're going to vote for him. They're all going to vote for him and tell us to vote for him too. Which is insane. Wow, AP, like, so it's out. Everybody's now reporting on it.
I cannot wait. Y'all be 100% honest with you. I cannot wait to see how the Marianne people report on this. Like, this is gonna be like that's not substantive. I'll admit this is my guilty sin.
What can they say? I
cannot wait to see how these motherfuckers avoid criticizing Bernie no matter what. Bernie Sanders kicked Kyle Kalinske off his own fucking show, and he still wouldn't criticize him. But so if he doesn't criticize Bernie for this, God, that's a massive cuck ass shit. This boy
And
immediately.
Nick,
I had to tweet about
and
that.
Nick, you thought you was joking. Nick thought he was joking when he put this shit up, and that actually happened again. RBN right again, Nick. RBN right again.
Dude, that's fucking
All right,
hilarious.
I'll take it down.
I gotta
I'll
give
take
it
it
to you,
down.
Nick.
That's my
I gotta
addition
give it
to the segment. That's my
You
addition.
have my
That's a good fun segment to end after that amazing Bill Maher shit. So that was a fun segment. JB,
Yeah.
what you have coming up? What you got coming up?
Let me do some of the super chats. I forgot to do them a little bit earlier, but I want to make sure I get to those.
Sure.
Thanks to Aberdeen71 for the super sticker. Thanks again for this one. Says Belafonte calling out Clinton on the stage at NAACP was effing glorious. Of course, we covered this one. Thanks to James. Thanks to Sean Brock. Capitalism equals cannibalism. No immunity for big money. Andre Stevens. Thank you so much. We covered that a little bit earlier. Okay, so we covered, let me see, Sean Brock. We see new institutions. We need direct democracy, bottom down organization. Much harder to buy, assassinate 1,000 people, vote for everything. Thank you so much for that. Robbie Rod says SpongeBob. Why doesn't anybody talk about that? Also, thanks to William Numbers for becoming a new member for RBN. Thank you so very much for that. And then we have Marvin Vargas says calmness brought to you by Joe B. by Pfizer. Free drugs. Free drugs. Oh gosh, I love our community, man. Y'all are just hilarious.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the last one. I didn't see any tips on Rockfin. So
yeah. Tomorrow at Nick at Night. Yeah, tomorrow at Nick at Night, I'm gonna have Derek Monroe on. If you guys know, he wrote an article. He's been writing about the Maidan coup since 2015, at least. So we're gonna have him on for Nick and I. I'm very excited about that. And thank you for the $10, Steve. I just saw that now. And Nick Nostradamus. That boy really could not wait to kill Marianne Williamson's campaign. That boy ran out. He probably was on the airplane traveling somewhere doing his standard duties. Soon as he got Wi-Fi, he saw the news that Biden was running again. That boy immediately came out with a statement. Oh, how pathetic and how embarrassing for the Marianne Williamson Bernie left. And I hope they have the same energy. The same energy.
They have to ignore this. They have to ignore this.
They have to. And what did we say? We keep predicting this shit. You guys call Nostradamus as a meme or whatever, but we keep. What did we say at the beginning of the race? We said no, if you run as a Democrat, you're not going to debate Biden. They said, "Oh my God, RBN, you really think they're going to not do debates?" They didn't do debates. Then we said, what happened when Bernie Sanders and the progressive left don't endorse Marianne Williamson? And they're like, oh, Bernie would never do that. I literally saw your reply. And I don't want to isolate this person, but I literally talked to some person today. They replied under my meme. He was like, man, no way Bernie would do that. I showed them the article headline that showed that Bernie Sanders plans on endorsing Joe Biden. They didn't know that, CJ. There was a Marianne Williamson supporter on Twitter that had no idea that Bernie was about to endorse Biden. Because
I saw that. I think I saw that exchange.
You see that I don't want you guys to dogpile on them. But you guys, if you look at my replies, you can find the person I'm talking to. Marianne Williamson.
Because they weren't being malice at all. They genuinely didn't know. That's why they didn't. Yeah,
they were good faith. They were like, wait, you think Bernie's not going to endorse Marianne? I was like, no. And I showed her the receipt where actually I'll pull it up because I don't think you guys are dogpile. This person came in good faith. Because the reason I'm showing this because I actually have a point. This Marianne Williamson supporter, replied to my tweet. They said, stop. If this man lets me down again and endorses an establishment dim instead of a true progressive like Marianne Williamson, I'm going to be sad. So we don't agree, but this person is good faith here. We disagree.
Yeah.
So I just said, because you replied to me, I said, Bernie already said he's supporting Biden over Marianne. So this person is a progressive, and like, there's no way he would do this to us. No way. In good faith. So she asked when. They asked when, and I did the story that we covered a long time ago. This is why this is not surprising to me. And they said very sad. So they didn't know. So why do you guys think this is? This person definitely been listening to Kyle Kalinske, definitely been listening to Breaking Points, and they never even considered this possibility. You guys see what what Kyle Kalinske is doing? Dude, this did a great job explaining this. They are literally leading otherwise good faith people who are desperate off a cliff. They know what's gonna fucking happen. All these people not like us. They don't know. They don't know the inner workings of this shit. So this person legitimately disappointed because they never thought that Bernie is gonna betray Marianne, even though that was obvious to us.
I would feel bad for that person not realizing this because, I mean, you put your hopes into what was going on, and then this happens. And the thing is that, you know, I blame the people who I like to call the legacy left for actually leading these people and you know, and off a cliff. I honestly feel bad because this person should not, you know, be feeling this way because they should have been told the truth, but they weren't.
Wait till Marianne Wilson doesn't do the dirty break. Just wait. Because remember, our audience is way smaller than Kyle's and Breaking Points. So there's going to be so many people who they haven't heard our critique and they didn't hear us explain how Breaking Points and Kyle was lying about the dirty break. So Marianne Wilson is not going to do the dirty break. You're going to see a lot of people like the person I just showed you guys, good faith people, they're going to be upset. Like, oh my God, I thought you guys said she's going to do the dirty break. What we are doing, we are saving you guys that cycle. We are saving you guys this shit. You understand? There are people going through this sauce and they're going to waste 2-3 years on this shit. But go ahead, CJ.
I found one that is readable, a person who seems to be for Marianne Williamson reaction. So this is the only one I found that's coherent. And it says Bernie Sanders, the sellout, rather than support Marianne Williamson,
I can't wait to see this shit, man.
Who has similar views to him. He wants to support status quo Joe. I'm done with Sanders. I'm done with Sanders. The movement he received that chairmanship, he was going to fall in line with the establishment. So this is another person that's opening his eyes. Go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry.
I'm glad this person. I am not dogging this person at all when I say this. But isn't it funny how they done with Bernie Sanders now?
Yeah.
He voted to support Nazis, support Jim Crow Joe. But now, because he didn't support your Queen Marianne, now you draw the line.
That's it.
I actually do not mean to drag this person. I'm not trying to. I'm glad they are finally seeing with Bernie who he is. But why take this? Despite everything Bernie did, this is what does it. And I'm glad so many people are gonna be done with these people out there. This is nothing but good shit for us. Because we knew this, we knew people were gonna be fraudulent, and we're gonna witness these Marianne Wilson supporters for whatever reason was not radicalized the first 2 times during the Bernie campaign. To be honest, to be fair, it took me 2 times. After the first loss of 16, I told you guys a story where I was like, man, I feel like I didn't do enough. And that's because I didn't do anything in 16. That's why I ended up quitting my job and doing it in 2020 because I wanted to do one campaign where I actually tried. After that, I was done. So to be fair, it took me 2 times. 1 time actually trying. It takes these people 3 times, whatever. Okay, as long as you get there, they're gonna be not everyone. There's gonna be a large segment of the people that Kyle Kalinske, Breaking Points, the Vanguard. These people are misleading, and they are doing a disservice to these people who are gonna be radicalized because of that, and they eventually gonna hit this position. We just want them people to get that position before they are grifted on, before they wasted their money, before they waste their time and labor. I see in CJ, I know you see. I see these Marianne people on Twitter. Because that's the only place they're at. They'd be like, phone bank, donate. They already try to get people to waste their labor and money on this shit. RBN, we are trying to save you guys that nonsense. And if you do any labor, let it be for a mutual aid. Let it be before a labor struggle. Let it be before something that actually will give us something tangible. That's our lesson. There was a long show today. I see Steve with another super chat. I think this was a great episode. We had AJAMU on. JB brought a great video. We roasted Bill Maher, and then we ended it with a funnier one.
I think it was a Bernie Sanders endorsing Bill. But go ahead with the super chat. Thank
you for that, Steve. Thank you for $2. Thank you, RBN, for this great, honest coverage. Bernie, facepalm, and also. Anyway, I gotta go. CJ, anything else you guys have? I'll tell you guys.
I can end it. We're not gonna do any video or anything. We'll just take it out and put up some comments with a little music at the end.
All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
That'll be it. So anything, JB, before we do that, sir?
Yeah, so on my channel, I just finished chapter 1 of the book by Dr. Devon Price, Laziness Does Not Exist. This has been a great book so far. So I finished chapter 1. I'll be going into chapter 2. And then I also will be doing the reading of Assata Shakur's autobiography on my channel later this week. I'm more than halfway done on my channel. So if you guys would like to go there, you guys can go to my channel. And then on top of it, I was supposed to have someone on, last week to talk about geopolitics in China. Of course, I had, because of my grandmother passing, I had to cancel for that week because that was a lot. And if you guys wanted to assist me with trying to get to New Jersey for my grandmother's funeral, you guys can go to my channel and you guys can see in any of my videos. Do you have the description below? You guys can donate if you guys would like to any one of the platforms that I use for mutual aid or my Patreon or my coffee. So I have that. But yeah, so that's what I have going on. And then I may have to end up doing a special stream on my channel, especially about that Bernie Sanders thing, because that thing was just too rich.
All right, sounds good to me. I did find an outro video. It's a funny video. It's related to the story, so I'll put that up for everybody's amusement as we put up some comments as we go out. Thank you for joining. This was a great RBN Live Tuesdays, and thank you again for joining us and being a part of the family. This is Rob Report, the Rob Report, and this is his coverage on Peter Dow, who happens to be the campaign manager for Marianne Williamson. And you have to ask your question, why would Marianne Williamson pick one of the most hated Bernie Sanders smear merchants to be her campaign manager? It's truly bizarre. And let's listen to the Rob Report.
You see this guy right here? This is Peter Dow. This is a Mark Trick fool in my best Compton voice. This is a nutwing. This is a nut job. A crazy man who do not have a clue. Stupid, silly, ignorant, dumbfounded, don't have a brain, a butt wipe. I try not to call people names. This guy's ridiculous. A little bit about Peter Dow. He's a Democratic strategist who has advised major political figures, including Hillary Clinton, Arlen Specter, John Kerry, he was described by the New York Times as one of the most prominent political bloggers in the nation. Who? This fool? This trick? This punk? Political punk? Don't know what the crap he's talking about? This fool? But that was according to Washington Post, according to Jeff Bezos' paper. Because, they told the Democratic Party line anyway. They are the Koch brothers of the Democratic Party. The Washington Post said that his early work in digital politics helped innovate a whole new way of campaigning. How? The new way of campaigning came through Obama, not Peter Dow. How did it come from Peter Dow? Yeah, you can confuse that with How Now, Brown Cow. Dow is the co-founder of media platform Variant. You mean debunk, sorry as crap, bankrupt Variant, which was supposed to bring credibility, supposed to fact check things, to tell you the truth or not. How can a lying machine tell me the truth? A lying machine designed to try to tell you the truth, because Variant is just that, a lying machine. He's the prior chief executive